Done? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Wednesday, January 16th regarding budgets. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In accordance with Mass General Law 30A, subchapter S 20 little e, we are taping this meeting for LCAT and also for the Selectmen's office, and I have to ask if anyone else is taping the meeting. No? All right. Okay, we can proceed. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to be meeting with the department heads to discuss our budgets for fiscal year 2014. Just to give you an overview, discussions may include updates on the current budget year and related matters. Our first appointment at 6 p.m. or a little after, is Colin Drury from Recreation. Come on up, Colin.
Hi, Colin. Nice to see you.
How are you?
Hey, Dad. Nice to see you. See you.
Hey, Tom. Sure.
Come on over.
Tom?
Okay. Obviously, you got your budget for this year, and we're reviewing this year's budget and also the budget of the current fiscal year. And I noticed you're actually working in the black so far. Or it looks like you will be based on projections and
Yep.
Actual expenses through the end of November, so that's a good thing. Now, for this year, obviously we got some important things going besides the swimming pool. You know,
Yeah.
You've got the proposal to combine a couple positions for an assistant rec director, and I noticed that you've got that in the budget. And I know I believe we discussed the process where we were going to. There was a person there currently, but once we got this okayed by everyone, we were going to put the job out to bid, I believe. And I don't know if that process has started yet.
To update you for FY14, the goal is to actually extend one of the positions in the office, the allocated funds for that position, for the assistant director, and actually keep the part-time clerk in the office. Since becoming the director, I have found that over the past 6 months, that position is really valuable to the office because it has that person that comes in every day and for 4 hours does registrations, keeps us on task, and that way we're actually up to date at the end of every single day. With the administrative assistant that's in the office, she has her task to do, which is the connection between all the schools, all the paperwork that runs around town. And then with the recreation assistant, which is the funds for that position, is what I would like to extend to make that a full-time position in the office. That person does a lot of the ordering as well as the new online schedule that the IT department has given us. So I only have that person for 4 hours a day currently. So for 4 hours a day, that person is taking care of the scheduling and ordering. The other 4 hours, it gets put back on my plate. And what that does is it kind of bogs me down in the office, which won't allow me to go out, meet with people, as well as start the process of our sponsorship program that I know is a large goal of the Selectmen. To have a sponsorship program in town and give businesses in East Longmeadow the opportunity to sponsor our teams, our facilities, which will generate some money to come into the rec department to buy those new sets of soccer goals, to buy the infield clay for the baseball fields, to resod some of the soccer fields, and then hopefully someday, it might be a big dream, to have another soccer field, baseball field, softball field built in town so that we actually have the ability to rest fields. So we're not always trying to keep our dirt lacrosse field, which it kind of is right now, going, for a season. So that's, so instead of actually combining over the past 6 months, kind of gain the knowledge of being in the office and how it runs, I'd like to extend one and keep the part-time 19-hour position.
Okay. Any comments from the board?
I don't have any right now.
Okay. I know. I don't know if you've been, when you went to appropriations, I believe it was the other plan, if I remember correctly.
Initially, yes, and then
Did you go back to them with this?
Back to them with
Okay.
this, and
Okay.
they were very supportive, very positive, and said, you know what, this is, you know, we're very supportive in you at this point,
Mhm.
you know, going forward
Okay.
with that position.
Okay, yeah, because obviously you're sort of taking the rec department in a little different direction, and you know, especially as far as getting sponsorships and things. And I believe when we discussed all this with my former board, if Melissa may correct me, but I know we had gone along with this idea to see how it would work as far as getting sponsorships and whatnot. And obviously that's going to be a determining factor as to whether it's an ongoing position after maybe the first year. But we need some sort of track record to be started as far as
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah, we definitely need data to see if the
okay.
new configuration is worth it.
Okay.
Can I just understand, what is the actual full-time equivalent increase that's being proposed as to where it was and where you want it to be?
The position was currently allocated as that $12,737, and the funds that we need to bring that to a full-time status is $29,263, and that salary is based off market research that I did in the state of Massachusetts with rec departments that are similar in size, scope, and services to our department in town.
So we have a $12,000 part-time position now?
Right now, yes.
And to make it full-time, we have to add another $30,000 to
Yep.
it?
And that would bring it to a $42,000 salary.
Because right now it's not an assistant rec. It's not an assistant rec director.
It's a rec assistant.
Well, yeah.
An
but,
assistant
yeah.
for the office, so.
Yeah.
But not assistant rec director.
Right.
It's not a full-time position.
Right.
And the justification for that is so that that person can take over more of your current responsibilities?
It's actually more of the office management responsibilities, so we can pursue a sponsorship program, and it also would give me the opportunity to pursue grants. There are 2 grants out there that I currently would like to apply for. One is actually a property grant, where they actually will give you money to purchase property for recreation land, as well as a second one, which is a $500,000 grant, which gives you money to actually build recreational facilities as well.
And what's the timeline for applying for and finding out whether or not we win those grants?
Those grants I don't have time to apply for in our current
Right. So
configuration.
in the new proposed configuration, then you would have the time to do
I would
that?
absolutely, yeah. It takes about 30 to 40 hours to prepare the documents, and they'd be due in January of next year.
And we would know,
We would know in May if the
Okay.
money was allocated to begin the process.
thank you.
Yep,
Question.
sure.
Without that part-time position becoming full-time, what would you be leaving on the table as not being able to take care of?
For the department?
Yes.
For the department, we can continue the services that we have in place. Obviously, with some enhancements that I put in with the use of the new online website and the online scheduling, we've cleaned up a lot in the past 6 months, but the scope and services of the department would stay level. We would still be offering the same programs, the same, you know, sports and things like that. We wouldn't be able to expand to maybe adult programs, winter programs like cross-country skiing and snowshoeing, which are ideas running through my head, and I would like to go for them, but I don't want to leave work behind to pursue new programs because, you know, that's where things start slipping through the cracks and the department isn't functioning as well as it should.
So we can know by May of next year if a $30,000 investment gleans us a $500,000 grant.
Or other sponsorships.
Or others, yeah. I mean, the sponsorship program to give you just a basis of what it could bring us is that if I'm able to sponsor just our in-town soccer program, our basketball program, and our Pine Knoll recreation program, that'd be $38,400.
Because I'm trying to look for what you're going to do while this person's doing part of what you would have to do. And if you can offset the extra revenues requested, the extra money's requested for the $43,000 your job by other revenues coming in, so please continue.
So the sponsorship program, just with those 3 sports, which we obviously have many more. You know, soccer is a 2-sport season, lacrosse is a 3-sport season now. You know, so just with in-town fall soccer, which is 27 teams, basketball, which is 45 teams, and Pine Knoll Recreation, which would be 40 different groups. We would sponsor each group on a weekly basis. Would be $38,400. So that would already pay for the $30,000, and you know, that will give me the opportunity to apply for grants. And as we know, with grants, I might lose them for 2 years, but it's when you win one. You know, like the chief of our fire department did when he brought in that $300,000 plus for our town. So it might take me a couple years to win one to get our department on the grant map, but you
Just
know.
in presenting extra costs to the town,
Mm-hmm.
if there's an offsetting revenue, that makes it a lot easier for us
Yeah.
to say it's a great idea. And certainly,
I would say, yeah,
in taking a stab at these grants, you know, even a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. Type
Absolutely.
of thing, and if you get one, it more than
Yep.
realizes that it was a.
yeah, I mean, there's a
good
few
idea.
little grants out there, like there's a baseline testing grant, which is a concussion system. We would make East Longmeadow a testing site for our concussions, which would be huge because we don't really have one close to this area, and that's a $1,000 grant. You know, so I would be applying for as many grants as I can get my hands on. But I think the easy offset is the sponsorship program.
And you can get started on that right away. There's no, I mean.
In July?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. That would be fall sports right away in July. We get out there. We are waiting just for town council to go through the sponsorship application that we gave them, and if he okays the application, then we are a go.
We're going to realize an expansion of services, activities, just growing in general.
Absolutely.
Rather than maintaining and
Yep.
dealing with the things that can be dealt with by somebody else and you moving on.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
And that was one of the problems with your predecessor is not wanting to increase services because of the overwhelming nature of what they had to deal with
Right.
on a daily basis with
Yeah.
what they had for staff. So
Good. Thank you.
So I can see that we can have a net of $10,000 with a successful sponsorship program with an investment of 29, potential of a minimum of 38. So
It could be more. Absolutely.
And the opportunity is there to make it more.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
great.
And we do have some of the largest companies right here in East Longmeadow. We have Hasbro, we have Lennox.
Oh, I know.
and as we said before, obviously if it doesn't work out, we can readdress the
Absolutely.
situation. So.
Not forever.
And by budget time next year, we should have a pretty good idea how the rest of the season's going to go.
Okay.
Great.
Very good. Any other questions? Tom, do you have anything to add? Okay. I figure you're up here. I figured I'd ask. All right. Very good.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Colin.
You bet.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you for your
I'll see you
time.
tomorrow.
Thanks a lot.
4 o'clock.
You bet. Thank you, Tom.
Good job.
Next, and we're only 3 minutes behind now, is Carolyn Brennan, Council on Aging.
Young lady.
She's younger than me. Most everyone is.
Carolyn, that's your thing.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's a big one. There's a lot of reading.
Yes.
We have a lot of grant information in here.
Yeah. What shows you what Colin was saying. It's very time consuming to get it through.
So I appreciate your narrative in here.
Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like let's see.
Want me to tell you where the increases are?
Yeah, I actually I've got them highlighted. We've got
15-hour position.
right. You got an increased additional support staff, which I believe I got this right.
That's for a night monitor.
Yes.
The building is open at night for programming. We have different health and fitness programs that take place. And what's happening on an ongoing basis is because there's no staff person there and we're relying on the instructor to secure the building, it's not happening.
Okay.
So we're very concerned. There's 5 different ways to enter the building and exit, and building doors are getting propped open, windows are getting left open. One morning, the custodian found the building one of the doors opened up with a chair, so it was open all night long. So this is not, it's not looking for a custodian, it's looking for a monitor that we could utilize the staff from the recreation department who presently monitor the school buildings. This would be for 15 hours when we know that there's programming taking place, that at least when the classes were done, that there would be somebody there to secure the building.
What would we be doing while?
Really just being there for, number one, the safety of the participants. If anything were to go wrong, they could contact, they could call 911 and make sure that, you know, emergency personnel were there. But really to secure the building at the end of the night, that's the biggest issue. You know, we just, with technology in there, we have a lot of flat screens, TVs in there, we have computers, we have new furniture.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. I'm just wondering if someone's there for 15 hours, can they be doing something productive before
Yeah,
they lock
and
up?
I think we can do that. We really don't need a custodian because we do have a full-time custodian, but we certainly could have things for them to do. And that is a flexible 15 hours. Not every week is going to require 15. So.
Is there any programs on the weekends? Or is it just Monday?
We do have programs on the weekends, but most of those programs, if we do allow any groups to use it, they do have to hire the custodian to be there.
Okay. All right, and then you have your rentals growing up?
Yeah, we have been, you may know that we have a newsletter that gets, there's an insert in the reminder once a month that goes to every household. It's been a wonderful outreach. We do the printing ourselves. We were able to buy a risograph machine 6 years ago that has reached its age limit, and we needed to begin leasing a new copy machine. Risographs are archaic now. They don't even sell them, I think, anymore. So this is a high-paced copier where we can get the 6,000 copies out. As well as a folding machine, a part of it. So we can use it for everything. We do a lot more inserts. Any department can use it as far as putting an insert in to reach every household. So
This is your bulletin you're talking about?
this is the,
Right.
yeah,
It's a
senior newsletter.
$4,200 increase.
Right, so 43.
We went from purchasing and owning the equipment to now it's more reasonable to lease it as far as the maintenance is concerned.
How many year
So.
lease is it?
I don't know how long the lease is.
They're usually 3,
Yeah.
up to 3
Yeah,
years.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Okay, no, I was just curious. Are you trying to get more people like I am, where I get it by email?
We can do it by email, but they also, because of the new website, they can also get it online
Oh, okay.
as well.
Okay.
So,
If we're printing and spending extra money to do that in-house, which is great, is there a if we're copying, is there a savings on printing that we would see?
you're not going to see a savings from what we presently have because we owned the machine
Okay.
versus leasing now. But we were, just the toner itself that we were having to get was so expensive.
Yeah, it's probably a more efficient machine.
And the maintenance agreement is then on the back of the leaser?
What do you mean?
A maintenance agreement on a lease machine, there isn't one, and you get rid of that expense of the maintenance agreement? Or do you
Well, that's
want
part of the
to-
lease,
It is,
right.
okay,
So you wouldn't have the additional maintenance.
Because that can be expensive to talk about.
Yeah, and that's what was
I realize
happening. It was
a lot
beginning
of
to
money.
break down. It was beginning to take a much longer to copy because it was breaking down almost every time we were printing. So,
Well, I think I was watching LCAT the other day and sat there and watched the COA menu. And it gets larger every week. I'm impressed. I like it. And
Good.
Obviously, you're going to have to come to the times as far as getting material out, so I understand it.
it's a great outreach tool.
Great.
Can anyone advertise in your newsletter?
And what
We
you
do
for-
advertising.
Help offset
That's how
the
we
cost?
support it, yes.
Good.
Mhm,
Good.
That does help it.
And I noticed there was only, other than a couple minor items, there was only the increase in training and seminars.
Training was definite. Having the nurse now full-time, she's been able to offer a lot more arthritis-certified programs, and we're even getting waiting lists for that, so it's been very, very successful. So I want to make sure the staff is getting the ongoing training.
Okay. Great. Any other questions from,
No, it's not $1 million. You know, I
Your
think it really
narrative was
jumped out
helpful,
was the
thank you.
rental, so.
yeah, I like those.
What's that?
The narrative.
Yeah.
You know, a few department heads did that. But okay, if no one has any other questions, I mean, like I said, it's not, you're one of our poster children for grant writing, so we appreciate that because obviously it helps with You know, it helps with defraying costs and being able to do more.
Yeah,
with-
we couldn't
with-
survive without them.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
our nutrition program and our transportation program is strictly grants.
right. And now, yeah, I was just saying, now you've added that transportation
Mhm.
program,
Right.
so.
Very successful.
So you're able to reach out to a lot of people, obviously,
Mhm.
which as the older population grows, then it's more and more important, as we're gonna see when we get to the veterans budget also, so.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm one of your next customers. I have a question.
Mhm.
In looking at all the new things you want to offer, who takes care of all that? I mean, is that loaded on the back of somebody, or is it somebody's not being fully utilized, or is there space?
Specifically
Like the
what?
chest thing and all that stuff, the other things you're going to offer?
It really depends on what we're offering.
Lessons.
That falls under, if it's not health and wellness focused,
Okay.
we do have a program coordinator and volunteer coordinator.
Okay.
She coordinates that. Anything health and wellness, our nurse coordinates.
Okay.
So the staff for that is able to take on all of those programs. What we're finding a difficulty is finding the space to take on new programs. So that's been our challenge.
As you get busier, your space is occupied more of the time.
Yes.
So you can't bring something in and interject
Yeah, we
in
can't
that
start a
space.
new program, and if it's a larger event in our auditorium, we can only serve lunch to about 125. So if it's theater style, that's different, but if it's sitting at tables with lunch is involved and then the entertainment, we do have waiting lists about once or twice a month, that we just can't take on more people.
Well, having been at your lunch a few times on Thursdays,
Yes.
I know
It's very successful.
it is very successful. It's quite a crowd.
It is a good crowd.
It's actually a blast.
See, he's all ready to be there.
Yep, here we go.
What's that?
You're all ready to be there.
Tried to
Yeah,
get
I'm
him
just
to call
kidding.
tables,
I'm just
but he
kidding.
bowed out
Yeah,
this
well,
time.
I'll do it next time. I didn't really know, I didn't know it was at the beginning of it, so,
Yeah.
anyway.
Good.
Thank you very
Any other
much.
questions?
Thanks. No, very
Great.
good.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Good luck this weekend.
Thanks. See
Thanks.
you.
Next is our esteemed clerk, treasurer, collector, Mr.
You know,
Florence.
so much paperwork and reading, that was short.
How are you, sir? Same to you.
Hello, sir. How are you? Nice to see you.
Hi, Tom. Good to see you. Good, thanks. You?
Okay. You've had no problems with your budget this year. It's been
No.
perfectly fine with these 7 elections and
7 elections, boy. Sounds like 7/11, 7 elections.
I'm surprised the election thing isn't 10, 15 pages long.
Well, the thing with the budgets here, it's, in talking to Tom, a lot of the stuff is fixed. And usually in any given year, we'll never see that. If you count the recount, it's like 7.5 elections. We had almost 4 elections in a 7-week period. And hopefully,
And I noticed
Looks
you put in
good.
for 4, I believe, this year, right?
yeah,
Because
because,
there'll be 2 for senator.
exactly, for
and then
John
2
Kerry.
for us.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We've had people, I don't know, when people take papers out, we update Nick on the people, the candidates who have taken papers out. And so far, we've had 4 for selectmen. And
4 or 5.
4 at this point, expecting maybe a 5th to come in.
So that's inclusive of myself, there's 4?
That's including yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So there'll be a preliminary.
Oh, there'll be a run, yeah.
On March 12th. And then I think once John Kerry's appointment is approved through the whole steps that it's going to be approved by, then Governor Patrick has between 145 and 165 days to set that election.
Okay.
And before that, I think there'll be a primary to narrow down the Democratic candidate itself.
Okay.
So there's your 4.
So it could be, I don't know when he's going to be appointed, but you could have another September primary and then a November election.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, it all
Like they did
depends
with
on.
Brown and,
Right. And to keep in mind, just what, I remember the Scott Brown, Martha Coakley race, that was almost 50%, 49% of the people here came out, which was the norm across the state. So I'm sure we expect something like that again, so it'll be a lot of
yeah,
people.
it's good to see people out voting, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, you bet.
And then before we get into the budget items, on another note, I'm happy, and this is, obviously, pat on the back to you, is that, whenever you have a recall election, you always
Yeah.
hope for the best, and obviously, the same
Yeah.
number came out, with the recall, it came out.
One
so-
extra.
Yeah,
Really? Oh, I thought I heard the same amount. Someone told me
It's
same
the,
amount.
well, there was a write-in that could, technically, if you look at it through the election laws, it would have been one additional one, because what is it, somebody had written in Pete Punderson in the same race that Pete Punderson showed up at the top.
Oh,
He
okay.
So
really
tech-
wanted to vote, or they really wanted to vote for me.
Well, it's like Chicago, they voted for you twice.
But, you know, that Friday night before the election, I can honestly say didn't get a good night's sleep all the way through, because never doing one, you just don't know.
He did a great job.
Yeah, just,
It was quite a snapshot of things.
yeah, I'm glad everything worked out.
And
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Okay. Now, let's see. We've got treasurer budget.
Yeah. Hey, here.
sure, and then, if you want, I can go through,
Sure. I noticed this year you're on track to be fine with your,
yeah,
even with your salary swapping and whatnot.
yeah, yeah. Well, we really don't have anything in there. What we do is we had a part-time person in there for next year.
Mhm. Yes, I noticed that, yeah.
Right. So for the, you know, again, unless, you know, we push and get a part-time person in before July 1st, you know, the budget's going to be pretty much, you know, close to what we had budgeted for last year. You know, and again, much like a lot of the overhead departments, Tom's office, Nick's office, there's a lot of fixed costs.
Right, right.
You know, it doesn't vary too much one way or the other.
Mhm.
Yeah. So.
so that's the 13th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 13,832 is a part-time person.
Yeah, we put that in there for next year. So, I know last time we had spoken, we had wanted to take a look, and I did some analysis on the comp time, and the time out of the office, and what they may take away if people have to take time off. And it's, I mean, I can share that, probably a separate meeting, but I'd like to share that information with you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It seems to be a general trend over the past few years. The same, people leave, you don't replace them, but the same staffing is taken on a lot more.
Right.
Which doesn't leave any time for going to the counter or any time for when somebody's down. And this isn't
Yeah.
just with you, on this,
Yeah.
a general overall view of all the departments.
Yeah.
And it's created a problem. It's going to have to, at some point in time, bring somebody in.
You're absolutely right.
Just can't take care of it all.
It-
Just trying to get this point out in the open, that
Yeah.
town's going to see this throughout the budgetary process.
Yeah.
And looking at it, yeah.
Yeah, and what I did, to back that up a little bit, is I put a work order in with IT, and Ryan really quickly came up with how many calls does the clerk office have just in 10 workdays. We had 578.
That's great.
No kidding.
So that's 57
I mean, it's not
calls that
great-
extension.
It's great statistics, though, that's great,
Yeah.
Yeah,
good numbers to balance.
right, and we either obviously try to service the person calling in, or we
That's-
transfer the call. But it's just, that's
And if
the
it-
part-time person, just to do stuff like
As I
that.
said, because if you're short-staffed, that's in effect 58 times a day that someone's doing something and they get dragged away to answer the
Right.
phone or do something
Right.
else to then have to restart what they're doing. And I know in my line of work, if you're doing something and all of a sudden you have to respond to something else and you come back, you sort of have to regroup and figure out where you were and, get started again. So I can see where that's,
Yeah.
the price of the part-time person is a small price to pay
You bet.
to increase the efficiency of the people that are
Yeah.
there.
And that's what it comes down to, too. I know I called in yesterday, and I talked with Mrs. Milliken,
Yeah.
and then I called back, and I had to ask for something else. I got the, leave a message, and I said, I'll just keep on dialing, and
Yeah.
it took me about 7 or 8 minutes to get back through again.
Yeah.
And I know that's not, it's a problem, but it's not something that's, nobody's not wanting to answer the phone, it can't.
Right, and we're a half to a person down. Again, that whole analysis I did comparing all the other communities our size, staff-wise. So we know, obviously, we need a person, and plus the element of human error when you're down like we are. And you're right, Paul, somebody's got to get up there focusing on what they're doing, but they got to do, a marriage license. I mean, which is good. I mean, you're trying
That's
to.
what it was.
Yeah, you're trying to balance to the ledger or something, and then you have to just put that down and,
Right, right.
and go fill out some intentions. But that's just the nature of the office. So that extra person would be just critical and would be so welcome at this
Well, you're
point.
not alone, so,
Yeah,
not at all.
yeah.
Any other questions on that budget? How about, we can jump over quickly to elections,
You bet.
which you blew the budget on this year, so I don't know why to keep you around, but anyways.
I'm sorry about that. I just didn't manage that one very well. Sorry.
Don't let it happen again.
What's that?
Unfortunately, it wasn't up to him that this,
I understand.
so we'll leave it at that.
But Tom and I, Tom was a big help as far as just looking at what we spent extra and what we needed for a reserve fund transfer, and we came out, or we're gonna come out almost right on for what we
Okay,
need to
good.
ask, so we just,
I think we already discussed that, the
Yeah, we
necessity
did.
for that,
We
yeah,
did.
okay, yeah.
yeah, we did. So for next year, we're only gonna budget for,
4 elections?
for
So
elections.
you're figuring 5,000 an election roughly, with plus,
Right.
okay.
But plus you have some town meetings, you get the census you have to print,
Mhm.
street lists, things like that, and those add up to the other costs that are usually in the elections budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So it came out to 5,000 for each one, basically, or approximately?
Approximately, yeah.
Okay.
But that's just,
Yeah.
that's what it takes to run our form of government.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I have no questions. with
No
this.
questions?
It's pretty straightforward.
okay, great.
Okay.
I'm surprised it's not more.
Yeah,
I,
well, changing to one polling location and, trying to be as efficient as we can with the ballot printing. And in some of the state elections, we do get subsidized a little bit.
Oh, okay. I
So
didn't
we
know
just
that.
try to keep it down as much as we can, so,
Okay,
which is good.
Good.
great.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. I do have the short and long-term debt. I don't know if you want to. We're not doing it tonight. You're not doing it tonight? Oh, there you go. Just a schedule that, it's probably pretty much set by the book, so.
Great.
Okay, very good.
All right,
So,
wonderful, thank
hey,
you.
great. Thanks for bringing it. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Thanks, Peter.
Good night.
Talk to you soon.
Sure, sounds good.
We're actually running early.
Yeah.
I know- Do you mind being called early, sir?
I don't know.
All right, come on up, Dan.
Early Sir, that's a new name.
Building inspector?
That was quick.
Commissioner?
Usually Nick calls me and says, come in real quick.
Easy on him, hi Dan.
It pays to be early then. Used to say.
Thank you.
You get that with that old hearty handshake?
I had therapy today, physical therapy, and I just
Oh, that's
saw
fun.
how far it could go back.
You walk on the wall or you pass that?
No,
Around the
I'm
back?
not even near
Around
that.
the back, yeah.
I'm not even near that yet.
Oh, you're not? Oh, jeez.
I'm still in tacit.
Where are you?
All right. Now, we've got, first thing is actually looking at this year's budget, you're gonna be fine also. You're gonna be, based on projections, actually under budget by a bit, small bit, but a bit. That's a good thing. Now, for 2014, I know we were doing some changes, so you've got one
Yep, one good one.
Yeah, one fairly large item, but it's giving you a full-time employee instead of
Yes.
a part-time employee.
What's
Or actually
really-
an employee that you really weren't paying much for, so,
It's desperate and you need it.
yes.
And even Mr. Pundis can attest to that.
Well, I did ask some questions
Yeah.
and research what the workload is like, and you're really no different than everybody else, where you, instead of just A for something, you need A, B, and C, and it's the same thing, where it's more of a load coming in with the same staff, so it's understandable. I do have a few questions.
Please.
I don't know if it's for here or for executive session. I'm going to hold off on that.
That's
We have a
fine.
meeting, you and I have a meeting anyway Friday.
Yeah, we'll talk on Friday.
Okay?
Okay, I noticed, I was starting with the revenues, maybe Tom can answer this.
Yeah.
I noticed
They go down.
are those projected for fiscal year 13? Because they're such uneven numbers that I thought they might actually be actual, but,
Well,
I know you can't do actual at the end of the year, but.
They're basically 50% of what, actual is 50% of what we're showing in a fiscal year projected revenues.
Okay.
So we think they're, the projections are realistic.
And I know fiscal year 14 looks lower, but I know you had one very large permit
Right.
this year, which sort of
That-
skewed the numbers.
That was just one. That wouldn't, yeah, that would have brought it up.
Yeah.
It might be even more than that, when we
And that's
come into
not-
the projected.
That's not, that's not something you projected forward anyway. This is
No,
without
we
that.
didn't.
Yeah.
I have some questions about the statistics, which I love. So at the top, I'm looking at number of permits. And from 11 to 12, it increased by 80. From 12 to 13, it increased by 80. And your projection from 13 to 14 is 524? Did I add wrong?
No?
No,
No?
So we're expecting to go from an average of 80 permits a year to 524?
We think that what we'll see is continued increase in smaller permit requests. You know.
I mean, like the like the tent thing that you gotta have a permit for and all that type of thing?
But I'm talking building. You know.
Sheds, you mean, that type of stuff?
Yeah, it
Or-
could
or
be.
additions and that type of-
Additions,
yeah,
because I
there's a lot
think
of
what
that.
we saw was, you know, this year, bang, we had an increase in larger projects. And I think it's hard to project, but we think that if that levels off, we might see more smaller projects, kitchens, smaller additions, and things like that, that increase in permit volume, but are lower dollars per permit.
So then my second question would be down at the bottom where from 11 to 12, the increase in revenues was 25,000. From 12 to 13, the increase was 16,000. And from 13 to 14, it's negative 23,000. So we're looking at 524 permits compared to 80,
Yeah.
but losing $23,000
Yeah, because we
compared to
think it's
last year.
smaller permit dollars.
That
Yes,
confuses me.
Well, instead of building a house,
you're
you're
renovating.
renovating a kitchen.
Or
So your permit's for a $10,000 project instead of a $400,000 project. so
you
the
build
cost
a
is
new
less.
home though, and there's a
Okay.
lot to be built with these existing projects, then you put a shed out back and that's another permit.
The
That's
problem with
Yeah, but
projecting
that's-
it is,
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry if I.
No, that's okay.
Is we, I think last year when we were doing the projections, we did not expect a Bluebird
$38,000
add-on.
permit.
Right.
Right.
We did not expect, I don't know how many large
Homes.
scale homes.
I know there's one development up on Prospect that they went
So-
for the open house.
It just seems like such a big.
And what's it gonna
It's,
have?
yeah, it is.
48 lots, 52 lots in
Something like
total?
that,
So
yep.
there's only 13 of those that are in the ground so far, I believe, if that.
Which one's that? The Prospect.
Pecoys.
Pecoys, there's
Yeah.
only 2 built.
Well, I know, but how
Two
many
built, but
foundations?
that-
how many
it's not all the way
foundations
in.
is
Oh, there's gonna be,
There's a cul-de-sac, that's gonna go
yeah,
out
that's
to the back,
that's gonna be
huge.
continued.
Yeah,
That goes all the way down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're looking at about 48
I know where
lots.
you're, I know.
Yeah.
And those are
It
very,
doesn't
very
seem
big
right,
houses.
and,
So we'll be able to track that. I like the numbers. I like to be able to
Yeah.
compare that. It just seems like such a tremendous jump
It
from
is.
80 to 524.
I agree.
It doesn't, but, you know,
we could take, absolutely, we could meet and take a second look at it and throw
Well,
some
it-
numbers around if you'd like.
If you look at it, I mean, you're going from 146 to 123, and you're going up 500, you're plus 500, but you've gone down
Right.
$23,000, 22 and some change
Right.
in
But
the
when you have one
revenue.
permit, that's 30, which
That
is
was
38,000.
Right.
Plus, and
correct.
they haven't even taken
And
out
that's
the
not even
plumbing
in there yet.
gas.
So
Yeah.
38,
That's
11,
huge.
6, that's 161, so now you're above.
so it's not apples to apples.
Right.
No, it's not. It's a moving target
Okay.
with this business.
But there
Well,
are
I'll
a
be
couple ways to
interested to
look
see
at
where
it.
that
You're gonna have
comes
new
out.
homes that are gonna put things in their yard, and you've got older homes
Yeah.
where people wanna dress it up, so they do whatever, and it's a smaller permit, I understand that.
Right, because I noticed if you break it down, you got, your
Yeah, because we-
electrical's 202 and plumbing's 136, so it's not all building itself. It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
We track anyways, on a monthly basis, Maureen tracks. So if any time you want to see something, we have a book
Great.
right up in
Well,
the,
we have a software program that we put all that information into, right?
yeah, but we still track so that businesses can come in and see what type of work we're doing so that they can possibly sell to these people.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll take you up on that.
Yeah.
The deck guy comes in probably.
Hmm?
The deck guy
No.
comes in.
Those are the vacuum system guys.
Really, huh?
Yeah, they're always in.
Okay. It's just if you look at this, you have to question it, please understand
No
that.
question.
Yeah, and especially
I agree with
we're
you.
looking at another position, and it makes it look harder here.
And
We understand what goes on in the administrative part of it and what the extra load is, but when people ask, if somebody looks
It's
at their revenues,
understandable.
they're gonna say, well, why does he need more? Well, it's not here, it's in the office. in the work.
Correct.
Well, if you're gonna add 524 new permits, you're definitely gonna have more inputting into
Yeah.
the software program, so I'd
Yeah,
be
definitely
interested in
will.
seeing that.
Yeah.
Definitely. And those are more items for you to look at, so it's more time for you, for you to be out of the
Between
office,
me
so, and Ed, and,
And Buddy.
yeah, thank you.
And the view.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, please. I'm in before I'm supposed to, I'm out before I'm supposed to be in.
There you go. And our next appointment just left.
Take it.
Okay, Dan.
Having trouble hailing cabs lately?
I'll meet you on the other side.
Okay.
That's part of your therapy.
Oh.
Stretch across the table.
No, she just tore me apart today.
All
I'll see you
right.
Friday.
I'll talk to you in the morning, okay?
Do we want to take like a 2-minute recess?
But you're the boss.
Okay, is there a motion for a 2-minute recess?
Motion.
Sure.
Second?
Oh, second, sure, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Back, and we have our Information Technology Director, Mr. Quimby, in front of us.
Yes, sir.
How are you, Ryan?
Hanging in there.
That's good. Okay, we got your budget. You've got a couple additions here. Now, there was no explanation, well, there probably wasn't here,
Yeah, he's got a
About-
very nice narrative.
about the addition to the base pay.
Mm-hmm. It was a nice, healthy one.
Okay.
Is that in your expose there?
Okay, so the base pay are contractual obligations, and
Yeah, we have 2 employees still entitled to step increases,
Mhm.
and 1 employee gets longevity for the first time. It's his last step, and he gets longevity, so that was the contractual step increase. The third one, under the new services, in IT, we have a part-time bookkeeper. He's about 0.7 FTE. He does IT, the rec department, and he's been helping in accounting since with the payroll position changes, I guess. The fire chief, I don't know if you want to talk to it too, but he had identified a need for bookkeeping assistance as well. And instead of going with somebody, another part-time position, I thought it made sense where you have a position that's part-time, already benefited, already knows the system, knows all the players, just to add the 0.3, and then add another department for his responsibilities. That's where the new services comes in. And the other part of the new services, which I forgot to write a narrative, I'm sorry, is the $2,500 for overtime. Right now, there's no overtime, so I'm just paying my employees in comp time. There's a lot of times where we have to come in after hours, do maintenance. The first Saturday of every month we set as our standard maintenance window. So from now on, everybody knows the first Saturday of the month. Expect an email outage. Expect things to go up and down. It's gonna happen. It's our scheduled time.
Okay. And then in your other expenses, the joys of maintenance contract.
Yes.
Jeez.
But this is good news there, isn't there, Ryan?
What's that?
Yep.
Yep. This is good news there.
The biggest increase is for our Cisco infrastructure. It's in the majority of that increase is for our phone system maintenance. The way Cisco works with their maintenance contracts, it's incredibly confusing even for our vendor who we purchase them through. everything has contract numbers, so like the Town of East Longmeadow, we have like 15 contract numbers. We've tried to consolidate them, but every time you order something, it goes on a new contract. When they went through last year and did our maintenance for the system, they didn't have the contract number for our phone system, which we didn't realize until a couple months ago when we were having some phone issues, and we called up and they're like, well, it's not under support. What do you mean it's not under support? So we got the number, and that is pretty much the increase for the phone system alone. It's for a higher level of support than we normally would have on other things, because it's a phone system. You can't go next business day without a phone system, really.
Right.
On the positive side, we realize it's a lot of money in IT. It's a lot. You know, $20,000 for a phone system yearly is a lot of money. So we're looking at. We looked at another vendor last week for a new phone system. It's the City of Springfield's implementing it right now, and for our deployment with a large number with strong resiliency, the maintenance should be like under $6,000 instead of the 20.
That's great.
Wow.
A brand new
that's
phone
good news.
system and
Right.
saving $14,000.
14.
$14,000.
Good.
Oh, a little more. That's good.
Good job.
And what's the timeline for?
There's a capital investment that has to be done in order to switch over to this system. But one of the things I do like about it is it offers less features in the system we have, but it offers the features that we'll use.
You're not using a lot of the features in the
Right.
existing phone system, as we discussed already.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. Okay.
So it offers the features we'll use. It's cheaper. The features I think are actually easier to use, and the price point per endpoint is cheaper. So right now, a phone with all the appropriate licensing is about $400, or with this it'll be about like $108.
Good.
Good.
That's great.
Plus that means, I mean, it's like buying insurance. If you don't get, you're gonna get $20,000 of use out of that. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean it's not just like how the old phone systems were, where it's for one building. You know, our IP phone system does Town Hall, Senior Center, Rec Department, Meadowbrook, Maple Shade, and as soon as we can get the recording software, it's going to do police and fire. If we can do fire now, we just got to install it.
Okay.
It's over there.
I especially like the out-of-the-box thinking about using your staff to support other departments. And as you said, we're already paying benefits, so there's not going to be an added cost to adding a new employee.
Yeah.
And providing added support to other departments who need it at a very minimal cost, I think is an excellent solution to the needs that different departments have. So, good job.
As long as we note that it's sort of like in your budget, but it's not necessarily all your cost. And
Right.
people realize that you've got this fee, but part of it goes to this gentleman and part of it goes to other people.
Yeah,
So, okay.
just somebody has to own it, so.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think
It's no different than regular regionalization. It's just doing it
Yeah.
on a local level.
Right.
Obviously, everybody benefits from that, and you provide the cost, but
Well
obviously you
said,
don't incur
yeah.
the whole cost.
Right.
And the thing with maintenance contracts too, and a lot of things that has been a strong practice in town is services that run multiple departments have fallen under IT. Like the police and fire software we take care of, the assessor software they take care of because they're the only ones that use it. And that's kind of been our rule of thumb, and you know, we kind of just applied it to employees too. So
Good, good. And then the wireless communication, there was an increase in that, but that's same deal?
same deal. It's you can see it from the graph. The amount of mobile users it's where everything's going now, you know.
Mhm. Yep.
Everyone's going mobile, iPads, mobile devices, Public Works. The superintendent and his water person have hotspots and mobile laptops, so they can connect and see all the pumps and all the pumping stations and all the stuff that they need to do, you know, 24/7. You know, an 8 to 4 workday now is, for a lot of people,
Yeah.
is non-existent, you know.
Right. And then, just for my own benefit, is the in-state travel, is that our,
Yeah.
visiting our friends next door?
The
Some of
in-state
that?
travel, that increase is for,
67%.
yeah, the mileage rate increase. You know, we were paying
Oh, okay,
34 and a half.
okay, yep,
Now
okay.
it's 55. I mean, I don't know who raised that up, but who pushed for that?
Your friends at the IRS, but I'm sure, yeah. Okay. And then over here, you've got the training. I know
Yeah.
this training is,
Yep.
Is that for the Munis, getting more
Uh,
training for our software?
Yeah, not specifically for Munis, that'll be one of the major factors in it. Right now, there's no budget for it. In IT, if we can squeeze the money out, we try to put on a boot camp once a year.
Yeah.
We started last fiscal year, this is my year, I don't know if we're gonna have the money for it, it's like, I think it was like $5,000, just under. We really need to have people trained. We've had turnover and people switch departments and they don't know how to use the software appropriate to their department, other than, somebody that half knew how to use it is now teaching them half of that, so.
Right. It's a little knowledge is dangerous.
It's a huge investment that the town's made that runs our town, it really does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we really need to emphasize and get people more comfortable with it. I think one of the biggest problems is people aren't trained enough, so if they don't know how to use it, then they hate it.
Right.
And the people that know, Tom could tell you, he probably loves, he knows how to use it, and he knows where to find everything, and
Yeah.
The planning department raves
Planning, yeah,
about it
Robin,
as well,
yeah.
Yeah, good. Now, when you say, just out of curiosity, you said town and district-wide. Is that something you,
for,
for the training?
yeah, because, we do cover the schools as well.
Oh, okay.
And they
I see
use
what you mean.
Munis,
Yep, okay. All right, so once again, this is one of those costs that in theory, if you wanted to nitpick, you could separate it to different, like to the school department for their share and stuff like that, but we don't.
Right.
Okay.
Right, when, before we had completed the final stage of the merge with the school department, that was what would happen, is in IT, we go through our costs and say, this portion, it was this much for the schools, and they'd give us the lump sum reimbursed to the IT department. The last phase of the merge just made that transfer permanent. They took it out of theirs, we added it to ours, and finished the merge.
Are you able to, and then don't need to do it right now, but it would be interesting or a nice statistic for folks to know that out of 100% of the time that you have, 10% is spent with school issues and 5% is spent supporting
Yeah.
other,
Yep.
just not to justify, I mean, I certainly understand where the expenses are, but I think that that's a good statistic to share with folks, that your budget is large.
Yeah.
But X% of the budget supports a very large portion of other departments.
Yeah, just for instance, we had our regional Western Mass IT directors meeting, and our budget, our IT department's comparable with technology as like Amherst is, but they don't cover the schools, and their budget is almost double what ours is. So just as a
Yeah.
as a gauge, and we can do that pretty easily through our work order system.
Good.
Everybody submits work orders, and we can say, this school has this many work orders,
Yep.
and graph it out that way.
It's just information that I think people would like to know, and I
Yeah.
think, again, it's good to justify the expenses, so I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you. Okay. Good. Well, one last, I don't know if anyone else has a comment. One last comment, because I don't know if you folks know, and did we ever get into a formal agreement
With Hamden?
Yeah.
It's signed on our end. The selectman I've been dealing with has had some family
Yes, I know. Yeah.
problems, so
unfortunately,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm waiting for, I don't
okay.
want
I
to.
just want to make sure everyone knows that Hamden lost their IT director, and one of their selectmen had inquired from me if we could, in effect, share our resources, and we
Yes.
have been doing it, and it is going to be
It's going to be a
profit
moneymaker
center
for us.
Yeah, it's going to be a profit
Great.
center for us, so that's,
It started a couple of years ago with in a regional regional selectmen's meeting where I had brought it up. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's crazy. That's a." But Hamden had an instance where they needed it,
Right.
and
Yeah.
we kind of been running with it from there.
No, it's
What-
great.
What kind of a revenue generator is that going to be, or haven't you projected? in?
12,000.
I would
15,000
imagine
was
right
like
here.
an estimate for fiscal year 14.
We haven't really fully launched it. Right now, we've
That's
been
it.
handling just kind of the police department. Once I can touch base with Hamden, I want to go through, sit down with everybody, share all of our contact information. They're going to go right into our work order system, just how we do with the town too, so we can
Okay.
get the measurables.
Great.
Love the measurables.
You were at the department head meeting, and everyone in my department, they're pretty guilty of, somebody grabs you in the hallway, and
Yeah.
instead of telling them to put a work order, you're like, all right, it'll take me 5 minutes to fix it, instead of
Yeah.
having to come back. But
Yep.
I gotta try and
You gotta
crack
keep
down a
track
little
of
more.
it. Yep,
All right.
very good.
Great. Any other questions?
It's easy to go in and ask you.
Very
Very good. Thank you, sir.
You got it.
Thanks, Ryan.
pretty soon, those iPads are gonna be like the size of a cell phone.
They don't talk on them.
I know.
Thanks, Ryan.
Easy.
Good. But that's just a projected, right?
Oops, yes.
That's it?
Yeah, you never know, it could be
Yeah.
more. All right,
Please?
yes,
Who's next?
since our esteemed police chief just came in. Well, he's, I saw him. It's like those certain job interviews where they ask you to come here half an hour before your interview, and he did it and you didn't, so it's.
Oh, yeah. Wait, you want it in the middle then, or? Okay.
She's the important one.
How are you?
How are you, Chief?
Hey, Chief, how are you?
Penny, how are you?
Hey, good, how are you?
Chief,
Good.
nice
Hello,
to see
how are
you.
you?
Nice to meet you.
I don't know
How are
if
you?
you.
Good, how are
This
you?
is Penny, she's the administrative,
No, I've talked to
the brains of the operation. She get her own calculus, or calculator too.
All right, now, well, first of all, we're obviously looking through your projection for this year's budget, I know is over. I know we discussed some of the items, I'm sure part of it, to a certain extent, were the 320 elections we had in the last year. And I know part of it was, and not to bring up, not to dwell on the topic, but I know we've discussed the fact that you had to devote resources to the investigation that went through town hall, so obviously that took some manpower and dollars with it, so, which obviously, once again, was an unfortunate event, but had to be done, so.
Right. The other inclusion too is injuries.
Oh, yes, yeah, we had, yeah.
A number of our members have been injured. One just returning back in early January from being out since August. So it was a sergeant's position, so we needed supervisors to cover those shifts, and it adds up after a while.
Yeah.
You just can't just move
Since
people around.
August, huh?
Yeah.
And then
You
we
got
have
another
another
one.
one that's out, and he's due back in February, and we have a third one patrolman, this one. Patrolman has a doctor's tomorrow, so hopefully we'll have a closure on that. And
Oh, good.
no, hopefully he'll be back tomorrow night, or if he still has therapy to do. But that was from that Smith and Wesson
yes, yeah.
incident
That was
there.
a while ago.
He had to have some
Yeah.
additional surgery done from that
Okay.
injury. So,
Did anything ever happen? Their liability on their part, or? No?
nothing, I don't know if the costs were there, the medicals,
Oh, okay.
so.
All right. Now, going over your budget, which is the one this is the revised one of 2 days ago, was it?
Which-
Gas and tires.
Gas and tires.
Yeah, no, gas and tires, yeah.
Yes, gas and tires. We get, well, I guess, both of those, we get on I don't know if the gas is a state or it's a regional co-op that they have, so they generally get a fairly cheap rate for the fuel that they get. But with the instability of the market, you don't know what it's going to be like. And I think Penny had it already. What were we total to this date or last month? The last billing we had was in what, December?
It was like, forgot exactly, but it was around $4,000, 4,100, something like that.
So using that figure for the rest of the
Right.
year, we're going to come close to depleting what we have. So we're trying to hedge it
Proactive,
for
yeah.
for
That's a good idea.
14.
And then if it goes down,
Right,
which
then we have
would
it.
be some form of miracle if you
Yeah,
got
Much as
definitely.
we get down to 10 cents a gallon.
Did I say that
you
out
know.
loud? I'm sorry.
But the
Same
tires,
thing.
the tires we buy as bulk. It's on a state contract that we get those, and we're switching over to 2 different style. We're getting the Ford Interceptor. They no longer make the Crown Vic, so it's a different size tire. I think it's 18-inch, whereas the other ones were like 17. So there's going to be a price configuration with that. So we just want to make sure that we have enough to
Do those get
cover
any
the
better-
tires.
Are those getting better mileage than the Crown Vic?
We'll see.
So I remember a former fire chief telling me, see this word interceptor, it means you get 6 miles at a gallon.
It's English for gas guzzler, or an interpreter, so. But that's, again, I think that was under operating budget we have.
Right. And then the other item obviously was just the crossing guards, and that 6 years they've been without a pay increase.
Since
and it's
I've been
not-
here, I don't believe they received any type of increase in compensation.
Right.
And they're out there in all types of weather,
Mhm.
directing, crossing the kids, so
Right.
I thought 3%, I believe, is the figure we came up with.
And I know just alone seeing the one that's at the Rotary, that should get battle pay. He should get battle pay for that. So the way
You're
some
not
people
kidding.
driving the Rotary, it's like, you're surprised they stop at all, never mind for the
Oh,
kids.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
What's other?
Wow. How many
Other, that's my
crossing guards do
resort
we have?
account that I have. Tom, can you tell her about other?
That's our cruise fund?
Yes.
Chief, how many crossing guards are there?
10,
We have
We have-
7 full-time,
and we have alternates.
and we have, I think, three alternates.
And the thing is one of the alternates can't make it, we put a police officer there. So we don't have, it's not
It's not either or.
it's not like a 4-hour job every time they come out. It's only for like an hour or 45 minutes, but you gotta have that time, that
Right.
availability. So it's kind of hard to really post a job like that.
Right.
We may call you, and we may not. You know, it's like the same issue we have with cell monitors, especially with female cell monitors. It's hard to get individuals willing to come in on a holiday weekend because we have someone on arrest that can't make bail, and you gotta stay out and
Oh, I
and
was gonna
monitor
ask
the
what a
cell.
cell monitor was, but thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen
Someone
further,
sits
thank
there
you.
and makes sure
Yep,
it's...
no.
Is that,
There's no harm to
is it a
themselves.
common occurrence that have some, I mean, I don't want to go into who's been there overnight, but is that a common occurrence to have somebody there overnight?
Sometimes, if they have a default warrant and the clerk won't bail them, or if you have court, there's no court on Monday because of a holiday, like this coming weekend. If they get grabbed Friday, they're here till Tuesday.
Oh,
And what happens sometimes, you know, they do their best to try to, but if it's a default or if it's a domestic, they're not going to get bailed. And we can't fill it. And we have one female officer, and, you know, she could be working a shift. You know, she's going to be unavailable. So we have to go out. We usually get corrections officers from Ludlow, which their clock ticks at a higher rate than what we pay the people off the street to come and do it. So those are some of the hidden costs that can flare up on occasion. You know, if we have a quiet year, you don't see it.
yeah, but how are you gonna know? It's just something you have to deal with as it comes along, and
Right.
Okay, now, getting
That's
back to your
tough.
question.
Yes, just curious about
Tom,
other.
what falls under that? I know in the accounting world, there's things called other.
Oh, the
Or
other-
miscellaneous.
Yeah, miscellaneous, the catch-all, if you will, but what type of items go in there?
You're talking about down, oh, in the
Yeah, like
low
the,
Yes.
I know, yeah.
Which page you on?
In the other category here. I honestly forget what this is.
what, other supplies or just other?
Right here.
Other expenses,
charges?
number
Expenses.
5785.
55, other charges.
Well, one big thing that's in
Lot of
there
money.
would be the ammunition. They go to firearms training every year.
I just think
And
it
the
is on
cost,
account.
and the cost of that ammunition is in that category.
You're gonna have to
If
reproject
it,
that.
if it helps you, as
That's
far
gonna
as
go up like
reviewing,
crazy.
if you look at this year, the actual expense up through November, whatever it was.
Is 171.
Was 171, and
Yeah.
the projected for the rest of the year is 12,000.
Yep.
So that's a nice round figure, so it's gotta be,
We're
I'll
gonna
I'll
use
get
it.
back to you on that, I honestly
Yeah.
forget.
That's okay, I
Okay, I was just
appreciate
trying to
that.
jog
It's
your
just, it's a
memory with
large
It
number.
is, and I know when I put it in there, I knew exactly what we were gonna put in there.
and you're actually under, and it projected to be under budget by $3,400, so that's why,
Yeah.
Yep.
that's a good thing, but
Yeah,
the
I
bad
don't
thing is.
foresee us using the whole thing, but
Yeah.
I know ammunition was in there, and it could have been, I may have split it out, hold on one second.
Plus with the academy too.
Yeah, but that is under in-state tuition, which is gonna overdraw the in-state tuition.
What line
Because
number
it's
is that?
$7,500.
5785.
Well, this one, 5320, the in-states.
Yeah, let's get an,
Yeah.
we'll get an answer for you
Yeah.
Okay,
tomorrow.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
thanks.
I appreciate
Blanking
that.
out on it.
Part of it too, just for the board's knowledge, when Penny and I try to work to put this all together, we don't have a specific training account. Our training comes from our overtime, because as we send officers for either in-service training, or firearms training, or first aid training, they could be working the shift that day, and in lieu of work, they go to training. But because of our numbers, we have to replace that person,
Right.
so it comes out of overtime. So it's not like I have a set figure of, okay, my training budget's $120,000. because it's not. Included in that would be, like, again, under others would be the ammunition we need. We contract with Smith & Wesson's for our firearms training, which is a $7,500 to $8,000 a year that we got to pay them to have instructors and certify our officers in firearms. So there's a lot of things that aren't just like a line item number that you can look at and say, oh, that's that. Some of them are woven in with other figures, and the big one is the overtime.
Yeah, it would just be nice to have, maybe have that, then that other expenses item elaborated on, so we can see that.
Now, hopefully, I know, because I know that the overtime's always a big bugaboo with our friends in appropriation, and hopefully this year, the fact that we actually we'll have, once, I don't know when the academy finishes, we'll have 3 new officers that hopefully will alleviate some of the overtime, because you'll have people going on at a lower rate, and you won't be paying overtime to the higher priced people so I'm just saying that in a perfect world, that should help.
It should to some extent, but then we lose.
Then you lose.
We lose someone in March,
Right.
14.
Right.
So the heads up here, and I think the previous board we had talked about that, was we have a buffer for a period of time. We have
Right.
We're not waiting when we hire.
Well, that's why we
someone
did
next
it. We
year.
wanted to be proactive.
Right.
instead of
We're not
losing
waiting another
someone
8 months
and
before we
falling
actually
behind.
get that officer.
That's
on
why the
street.
3 hire, in my mind, was way better, because there's a couple more that I can look at that you're gonna lose
Well, you've got
shortly
4
thereafter.
or
So
5.
that's gonna bring it down
Yeah.
to where you are now, so
I-
there's no net gain. If you look 3 years out, there's no net
Right.
gain. That's the problem with it.
I-
And the
I
whole
asked-
problem occurs again.
I think I asked appropriation prior to one of the town meetings a few years ago at the high school. I said, if you want, why don't we hire 5?
Yeah.
And no, we might have the run of the mill for 2, maybe 3
Yeah,
years, but then they're gonna be
But then
filling through
attrition is
attrition.
gonna- yeah.
Right. It
And we're
bring-
back to whatever number we have, because
And then
the
you have
problem
4 or
is.
5 that are
Yes.
eligible in the next years, too,
Right.
right? Okay.
Right, and depending on what the Commonwealth does with retirement laws, you might see more. I mean, Springfield
Right.
just lost, they get an academy starting with 20, and they probably had that number, if not more, already.
I know 3 personally that all basically retired at the same time within the last week or 2.
And it's hard, because institutional knowledge just walks out the door.
Right.
Oh, big
That a
time.
new person doesn't
Wait-
have concept.
Wait till you lose the number
That's
1
about-
badge.
Yeah.
That guy knows. I mean,
Yeah.
been there since we graduated high school.
I have
Yeah.
a question.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, that's 10 years. That's a loss, though.
Did we have an allocation for a dispatch position in the last budget?
We did not. We have, the board's been involved through myself and Nick having to attend the regional dispatch that they're trying to do in the city of Springfield. We have it in the contract that we can institute a civilian dispatcher.
Okay.
And we haven't done anything to date with that, because we still need an officer, people coming to the station. The dispatcher is going to have to call someone in, or in a case we have someone locked up in the cell, we need to have a body in the station. That's been our experience over the years.
So a dispatcher
It's
wouldn't
something
save
we
us
could-
money?
I'm sorry?
In the long run, a
A
dispatcher wouldn't save
dispatcher,
us money?
a dispatcher would, it might be a few dollars less an hour, because I know some of the rates have gone up. Appropriations had asked about that when I met with them in November or early December. And I do have a survey of surrounding areas, what they're paying for it. And some of them range from $14, $15 an hour up to $20-something an hour.
But it doesn't cover a very large section of your needs. It covers somebody dispatching, but other things happen, you need other qualified personnel, and you still have to have them there, so.
I mean, it gives you a legal answer. These dispatchers aren't going to give you, and some of the questions we have, my neighbor's doing this, can they do this, can they do that? So sometimes they're of a legal question that's being asked, and rather than have someone go off on a tangent and say the wrong stuff and have something happen. And bottom line, if it's something serious, we're going to call there regardless. Someone's going to be there physically on the call itself or back at the station. And we've had circumstances, we've had domestics in the lobby, we've had fights in the front of the station. So, it's not a call center, it's a police department. And I think when people go there, they expect, and that's kind of and Nick's aware of that, as is Paul, on the regional concept. I mean, I sit on the 911 Commission, and I can understand how they're trying to save money by regionalizing these efforts. But I don't think the people in this town are prepared for that. Their concept is when they dial 911, they think they're talking to the guy at 160 Summers Road. They don't realize they might be talking to someone over in wherever the regional may be
Right.
located.
They don't understand. I've gone through the regionalization thing with service, in oil business service. And it's definitely less expensive to have all of it pushing up to one place, but that person has no idea of East Longmeadow specific situations. And it's a regionalized service, but I think on a local basis, it's a reduction in the quality of the service you get, the proper response, and not understanding that maybe some extra safety aspects that may happen. It didn't work well in the situation that I had to be in, and it changed. It went back to local service. So that's my one thing with the regionalization. Yeah, it's great to save the cost and spread it through the whole system, but
The scary part is
Right.
that once they take that 911 system out of your department, because I've asked this pointedly, I asked this question, what if we do it? Figuring that, okay, supposedly we're going to save money. They've changed their philosophy, because originally when we were in the program up in Amherst, in that group there, it was going to save this kind of money, that kind of money. And it's to my belief, Amherst has still come to terms with that, and that's been 3+ years. And it was going to save $800,000 is what it was going to save.
how?
It didn't, because the unification of services, the streamlining and everything. And so I asked, I says, what happens, we go into this and 6 months later we're like, what did we do? Can we, there a switch, can we go back with it? Find another regional group. That was the answer I received.
Really?
Thank you.
So before you throw it out to the side and say, let's try it, it's,
I know we'll be seeing, and when we go to the MMA conference, we'll be seeing the
definitely.
the people promoting the regionalization
great.
of dispatching. And
so. I mean, they're looking at
I have a problem
everything.
with homogenizing things. I just really do.
Well, in the case of our IT department, it's very successful, so.
Right, but he's not, yeah,
That's
Under-
different,
no, I
though.
understand.
That's not
I
a call for
understand.
service, so to speak.
especially emergency service.
Yeah, it's different.
But it gets-
That's a
maybe
great
to hand
plan. What was that?
Was there another issue? We're all set with the clothing?
Yep.
We're going to see, as far as expenses for the uniforms for the recruits, because we have to supply them basically with everything. We're over what we had originally in our armory, so we're going to have to buy a brand-new firearm for this officer as well.
Oh,
Because we usually keep one as a spare in case there's a problem with one. So
that's under other?
That's one under other.
So those come in there, and so.
Chief,
Yeah,
question.
yes.
You and I had a quick discussion about what you're thinking of needs for other firearm purchases. Have you gone there with anything, any proposals of that?
I have not, no. I had a conversation, because I had to have the chairman write off on the 911 training grant today. I needed his signature. And I talked about, we got this active shooter going on, and I might as well bring it up now.
That's why I said.
We finally have the state police. Yeah, okay, it's slow, it's late. It's been up since, I don't know when, 7 o'clock anyways. But anyways, an active shooter program wherein, I think I talked briefly at the board, one of your first meetings there, where our mindset and training now is to step over the injured, the ones that are pleading for help, and go on and take out the shooter. We were successful. The Executive Office of Public Safety has found the wherewithal to restore additional troopers to start this training again, and we're going to start implementing that. We'll go in, again, using a regional approach, but let's face it, when we respond, we need as many people as we can have, and our forces are limited on the various shifts. So Longmeadow, Hamden, Wilbraham will be responding along with the state police. So we're going to conduct this training. I'm just waiting for my day in the sun with the state to get this up and going. And I know in conversation with Superintendent Smith and at the department heads meeting, I had talked about it as well. That survey worked out. I've heard back Tuesday that they got these resources. So
Great.
the extension invitation is the passport. I think one member came to it. If you want to come and witness it, what's going on, what's happening and everything, and the strategy and the technique that we use, it may be eye-opening to you and may be of interest. So as soon as I hear the dates, I'll get hold of Nick and give him the dates for
Great.
that. So, because I know the schools are interested in it, as well as the principals.
How about extra purchases that we were discussing too of some other weapons that you?
I'm hearing
bridged that subject
the
gap?
equipment that I wanted in the trunks, we're going to be looking at having some additional equipment, but I was looking more towards a shield and those things get very heavy, they get very you know, they get overbearing at times if you're doing a room-by-room search. So maybe downsize that, and from what I'm hearing, it doesn't stop a particular round that was used down in Connecticut. So it's still, that round is still going to go through you as it would go through your vest as well. So it's a sick element of society that has reared its head these days. So
I think the regionalization of responding is good, that part of it.
No,
That's a downward type of flow rather than
Right.
information up, that's
Right.
coming in to help, and I think that's great, that's needed.
that worked out well. The new radios, is Ryan still here?
Yes.
The new radios are working well. Our coverage and reception. I had Don Kavanaugh up at East Hampton at a school resource on this active shooting conference. As a joke, he tested his portable from the other side in East Hampton. So it obviously went over Mount Tom, and it was like he was in the next room. So the issues that, I don't know if you were confronted with, it may have happened before you were, prior to the board.
You mean when the officers had to use their cell phones to call in because you had dead spots in town? Yeah.
Right, okay. That looks like it's been resolved with this radio system and the vote insights and everything else. So officer safety should be increased dramatically in that sense.
Good.
But
I have no other questions.
No, I don't either.
No, most of them.
Thank you, sir. And it's,
all right.
You know, it's just sitting here thinking it's a sad commentary on society when you have to have active training and you have to discuss walking over victims to get to them, you know. I mean, it's just,
Different.
I can't imagine. Let's put it that way.
No, different. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Good to see you.
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Debbie, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care. Am I going to buy you dinner? That's the other.
That's like 14 grand of it. That's it. Oh, good, thank you. Yeah, he's hanging in there.
The other.
Yeah, he's hanging.
Oh, excuse me.
You gotta play in 8 screws. He's out for the season, but long-term recovery is 100%.
I heard about that. My daughter told me.
No, boy, yeah.
Bad news travels
Not
fast.
a good day in the Caliento residence.
All right. My
Making
son,
progress.
Wrestling.
Oh,
Next,
You're on time.
yes, next is our fire chief. How are you, sir?
Very well. Well, how are you?
hey, chief.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Where is this
I'm
one?
gonna say, his was the easiest budget.
Yeah, they only have one problem every year. It's a damn vehicle repairs. Because no matter what you put in there, you can see it because the trucks have issues and.
It's the restoration of that fire truck we're still trying to get done.
That's not in there.
That's not there.
It's not in there.
Tony didn't get it in there, huh?
No.
But I real
Tom Caliento's pretty tough with that pen of his.
it's mightier than the sword. But I realized, obviously, I noticed, you know, you were over budget as far as repairs this year, and I noticed you finally are getting proactive, and it looks like you've increased the budget item.
We're trying.
Yeah.
I had a couple ideas, and speaking with Tom, and then speaking with a couple of the appropriation board members, their thought was, you know, we got to raise it, but what to raise it? So I tried to take a 5-year average where we've been, and that was that $25,000 number.
Okay.
This year, I mean, we're really squeezing. We're going out for competitive bids for everything that we can. So we're trying to save money on our PMs, which is in turn going to hopefully save money on the maintenance in the long run. But we're heading that direction. Hopefully, I can bring that number back down. Preventive maintenance.
Thank you.
Yep.
How about your air tank filling equipment? I know we were discussing that, and.
That's part of capital.
Okay, that's a capital.
It's a
So
capital
More
item.
than 3 years, over 20, yeah.
Yeah, it's a $55,000 item. I came before the board, before you two folks were on board, and that was one of my capital items for next year. I'm not sure where it is with capital. I know I'm still in the running with the federal grant program that's out there. There's about 4 or 5 more weeks of awards going out. Longmeadow actually just got $69,000 for a fire hose, which is a great.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's in.
I went to Capitol the night and unfortunately had to leave before they got to you. I do have some information, though, I think, in my house that I was giving out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. So I mean, it's chugging along. We had a breakdown a couple of weeks ago.
What are you experiencing for that, other than PMs? What are you looking at?
For the
What's breaking?
The compressor is 20 23 years old now. The technology's old. The compressor portion of itself, which is, to replace that's about a $20,000
Oh, on your ear. Yeah.
on the air bottle,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, to do that, it would be irresponsible to spend that kind of money on that. And it's taking longer to fill bottles. When we do get the bottles full, they're coming out overheated, so then we have to refill them again when the
Because it
air
cools
cools down. So it's but we're chugging along. I've got Longmeadow's compressor if needed.
Okay.
Eric's already said, anytime you need it, come on over. So
Good to have them over here for that, in that
yeah.
aspect.
Well, I mean, it's part of mutual aid. I mean, everybody helps everybody out.
All right.
The only other question I had, because everything else, I understand with the budget and what's available and what you've used. What's the deal with meals? Does that have to do with any emergency? No,
I can actually.
We need to know what other is.
I can actually explain this to the T.
Okay.
You're looking at for last year's,
Yeah.
for this current year.
Yeah, I was just curious.
We have a firefighter who went to the academy in July,
Yep.
August, and September, and we have a firefighter that's there now for 3 months.
Okay.
He spent $2,500 contractually in town policy. He spent $2,500 in meals and mileage,
Oh, okay.
which is that same line item.
Okay.
Brian, who's there now, can theoretically spend up to $3,000 because it's the way it works is $30 a day. Bill didn't eat much. We were pretty fortunate with Bill. He saved us a little bit of money. Brian, his first weekend, he looks like he's going to be the same way. I actually put in for, I don't know if you remember, back in November for reserve fund. Tom,
Yeah.
I think it's tabled. Tom's been working on it. I think that's going to go in with a couple other items. So, but that's where
Meals
we-
and travel, that's the allocated amount.
that's the number, right?
Yeah, I'm
It
just
won't be
curious.
that high next year,
Yeah, okay.
unless we have a few retirements.
Right. Okay.
I'm curious, the permits that generate funds, that's great. Just the
Oh, yeah.
propane permits and
I have a few oil trucks, you'll find out.
do you handle those out of your facility? Or-
Yes.
So you have your own person handling
Yeah,
permits
I
there?
did it beforehand, before I became chief. We have a fire inspector now, Ben. He moved up into the position when I stepped up. He issues the permits, he does the inspections.
Okay.
It's all,
I was just wondering the process of.
yeah.
Yeah.
We use the Munis system.
Great.
Right.
You like it?
Yeah, so at some point, I got the pretty good hang of it, and Ben's getting there now.
Good.
It's just the steps. It's a little process,
Yeah.
but I like the way you can track with it.
Good. And
That's
so a
what it's
boot
for.
camp would be a good thing
Oh,
for
huge.
training.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Great.
Yeah, we have safeguards in place as far as collecting the money, getting it to town hall and so on
Right.
and so forth. So,
Yeah.
is that on a weekly basis now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Great,
Yep.
That's what it's there for.
Yep.
great.
Yeah, it's-
All right.
Yeah, this was
Anything
an
further?
easy one. Thank you.
Boy.
I have no other questions.
No, it's just.
All right. Great. Thank you,
Not a
sir.
whole
Very
bunch
good.
of stuff
We'll
that's
see you
all.
next week.
Yes, sir. That's right. You're on our regular agenda. huh?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. Well, have a good night. Yep, thank you.
Okay.
I think next on the agenda is ECLAT.
Yeah, sorry.
We wouldn't bust you if we
Thank
didn't
you,
love you.
All right, bust away. I have Buster here beside me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst thing, right?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. I gotta take a look at this.
Oh, I forgot my glasses.
Here you go.
I'll give you mine, but I'm totally non-functional without them.
Thank you, sir.
There he is. Okay.
Okay, so looking at, I just got this right before I came in, so I'm looking at,
I might direct you to page 2 first, so.
okay,
Just because, to remind everybody, that I think everybody knows, that this is funding that does not come out of the general fund or
Correct.
tax revenue. So,
Right.
just, I think that does have some bearing on looking back as well as looking forward on some of the things that you may have questions about.
I was thinking of you the other day when I was reading a story somewhere about the fact that they were talking about how with the advent of these little things that you put on your TV, that at some point cable TV stations will be out of business and everything will go through the internet into these boxes, into your home. And you'll
Oh, like
pay.
a Roku?
And there, I guess, yeah, I don't know, there's something in New York that they've started, and so you basically avoid the cable company, and all I could think of was the fee. And you, so it's...
Yes. Well, you know, We did get our notice the
But
other
I
day
digress.
from, yeah, well,
So,
yes and no. All right.
all
That's a
right.
conversation to have.
Yes, so for this year,
She's looking at your renewal fee.
okay, so we've got the paper stats, go. Underwriting, okay. And obviously the transfer out on page 2 was for the construction.
The transfer of 350
Yes.
for this fiscal year is
Yes.
for the construction.
Okay,
Yep.
Okay. And as far as your, based on projections and what you've done year to date, your budget is, looks like it's about $4,000 plus when all said and done.
Yep.
Which is always a good thing.
Yep.
That's the first thing I looked at when I did these budgets, was look at this year and then go from there and see
Yeah.
what, so for next year, we've got,
And I guess I apologize for not having, I would have been happy to provide that narrative, and I would, we'll provide that certainly for the town report, but just one of the things that I think that I'm happy to say, last year, for the calendar year, we produced 375 programs in the course of the year, which is a little more than a program a day.
Right?
right,
Each one of those programs costs a subscriber 5 cents. So I think that what we have tried to do with the money that we are fortunate enough to have access to is give people some value
Right.
for what they're paying on their cable bill to
That's
support
true. I mean,
LCAT. And that's really what my budget is built around, because it is different from providing the kind of services that my fellow department heads and their employees try to provide, so.
I still marvel when people say, I saw you on TV last night. Or I saw you on TV at 3 in the morning. Or, you know,
Well,
it's-
at 3 in the morning, they need to get a life, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
it's insomnia cure, but anyways, but in any
That's a lot
event,
of programs.
But I think
Yes.
I think it's very important that people hear what you said, as 3% from the cable company itself. It's not our funds or tax money or anything like that, but you spend it wisely, and you have a great vision of how to spend that money, and it's been, the upgrade in services is reflective of that. And I think it's important people realize it comes from the cable company.
and I know, not to beat a proverbial dead horse, but along the same subject, but I know you've been working at an employee deficiency for
Yes.
half this year.
Yes.
I know we're trying to address that right now.
Correct.
And, so you've been providing the same amount of service with basically fewer employees and, obviously turning out the same product, which is a good thing. But I know it's been,
Well, we've been,
it's been a
it's a
stressor on
struggle,
everyone.
yeah, and I don't,
so-
I think to be fair, we haven't been able to do the same, and,
Okay.
and we've, there's a shortfall there.
Mhm.
And so we want to address that,
Yep.
because the goal is, we have a wonderful new studio coming
Yes.
online in the next couple of months, and,
Mhm.
we had a plan, and I want to continue that plan.
Yes, and you should.
Yeah, okay. Now, getting back to whatever follow along, my fellow select person, Ms. Baranski, I noticed there's an item called other
Other.
charges, and it's $15,000.
Yes, so, no,
I know what it is.
You do?
Debbie, yeah. So, again, because of the structure of my budget and the way that the money's appropriated out of the revolving fund, since I came aboard 4.5 years ago, I have used my operating budget. The way the cable company identifies the grants, when they negotiate a license with the town, there's usually, for whatever the term of that license is, and I think my first license, I came in partway through a 3-year license, and then we recently renegotiated a 5-year license. And the cable company has, in other communities, they do this in every municipality in the Commonwealth and most states, is that they would say, we'll give you some formula for an annual operating revenue and a sort of an upfront capital grant. So there's really no requirement under cable law or by the cable company that you separate that money into those contingencies. So what I've done basically is buy my equipment over the course of the year for 4 years. out of my operating budget
Okay.
and saved the money in the capital account for this project.
Mm-hmm.
So that other, in the
Is
past 4 years,
reserved
has
for
been
equipment.
what I have used for equipment.
Okay.
I'd use it for equipment. I don't know, because now I have a capital request for FY14 for new equipment for the studio.
Right.
But we're level funding the budget. So in a sense, that's potentially a surplus, but I guess my preference would be to continue to use it for this year so that I don't wait until July 1st. I can begin to buy some of the stuff that I need as
Right.
we move into the studio. So that's the explanation for why
Okay,
that's
no, that's fine, I just, are there any other questions? Are there any other questions,
looked it over, and
comments?
No, I
had a-
understood that entirely.
Great.
Nick, at what point in time should we discuss the 19-hour projected or requested 19-hour positions, the two 19-hour
Should be an
positions?
executive session.
I mean, it's an executive section matter.
That would be an executive session
Right.
matter. I can tell you that Mr. Mackey is going to be on the agenda for an appointment at the next board meeting on the
Right.
22nd, which could be changed depending on what the board wants to do. So the board
That's fine.
could consider it at this time or wait for that allocated time at the next meeting.
I would be more open to doing it the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a, it's a direct matter at that point, it's a, scheduled matter. We can have some time to brought, I don't know if
Are you okay with that?
Selectman
I'm fine with that.
Bronski's been
Yeah.
brought up to speed on that, or did she? I don't know if
Yeah,
they've been
I
brought up to
agree with
speed
that.
on. Yeah.
No,
No, that's fine.
Okay.
that's great. Thank you.
All right, great.
And
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed the first meeting as the chair of the LCAP committee the other day.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Now you get to go back behind the camera.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, now.
My glasses.
Tom.
It's gonna walk away. It's
I like
using
them,
a
they're
pen.
cleaner than
Yeah,
mine.
yeah.
My health is you.
Who's next, Paul? You got my agenda?
This gentleman, right?
No.
The last two gentlemen are both sitting with him.
Yes? Do I need to take it?
All right, sir, how are you?
Good, how are you guys? Oh, yes, okay.
That's all we got.
You've been here.
Hey, Tom.
Sir?
Okay. Now, we've got, let's see, I think you were also, you were also right about on your budget
On
for
budget.
2013, but you're an accountant, so you should be.
Right, I thought, and we really have.
Yeah, that would be that.
He knows how to sharpen his pen. Okay, I've got a couple questions. Okay, so you've got a couple increases for staff members. You've got a 7.5 hour a week payroll admin.
Yep.
And then a part-time accountant.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Reason behind it.
Right.
Should I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know I have rather large requests here, but it's like a wish list, you know.
Okay.
But right now, we're borrowing, if you will.
The gentleman that's working between 5 or 6 different.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We're borrowing him, and his name is Doc. And Doc is, works for IT as the bookkeeper and rec. And we had to take him in about 8 months ago, maybe a year ago, I don't remember. And he's done a great job. He's really helped us out. Unfortunately, I think that given the bookkeeping demands by Ryan in IT and some other areas
Out
he's
of the fire
interested.
department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since Doc is trained and good in Munis and functioning well on the accounts payable side, I think it would be a smart move townwide to, I'd hate to lose him, but allow him to work as bookkeeper in other departments. Unfortunately, that doesn't help me.
So he's the position that's being shared with,
Yeah,
Okay.
Doc, you know.
He's part-time
Okay.
now. He's 19 hours now?
Doc is, no, I think he's about
27.
25 hours
Okay.
with all the
Benefit
departments.
employee.
Doc's the guy that sits over
Yeah.
here. And,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
saw him this morning when I was walking.
great guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, he was in here this morning, yeah, I didn't know who that was.
This is his office.
That's his office.
Because I saw him in here, I just had no idea who it was, okay.
So the request for a part-time position for 19 hours a week would be an accountant, someone with an accounting degree that can come in and assist us in all realms of our office.
And how many
That would
hours?
be the best world.
How many hours are you looking for?
19.
So there would be a
Non-union. Right.
non-union, non-benefited person, 19 hours.
And my other thought was that we have the payroll person right now. Terry, she started with us about 6 months ago, not even. And she's doing great. She's 30 hours a week. And the demands there and the service there that we see on a daily basis is rather stressful at times. I mean, people constantly come in for W-4s and benefits, paperwork. It's really overwhelming at times. So it would be great if we could get her up to 7.5 hours, so she's full-time 37 hours a week.
So at 30, she's already got benefits.
Yes.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be, it's not like we're taking a half-time person and making them full-time, and when we'd have to include, we'd have to calculate benefits on top of that. So,
Right.
Okay.
The benefit of those two positions in our office really help us out, especially during the dire crunch times, and especially since we don't have, if I get sick and I'm out for a week with the flu or something, that's going to be bad for everybody, my office, and you know, so that's really, we're looking for that overlap in coverage, number one, and also allowing me to go into some other areas to expand transparency, because that's become more of an issue, and it is a great issue, and we're glad to
Defining the others in all the departments. And
offer more transparency and get involved in better reporting for appropriations and you folks, but it just, the demand has increased, so. You know, we're doing everything we can, but I think that what we're seeing is we have a very fast-paced environment, and it gets stressful on us. However, the solutions to that would be, and I hate to complain or anything, but yeah, I think it's well known that our office is in a non-accounting environment. You know, we're constantly interrupted with people that are coming in and asking questions, just looking for directions, and you know, I'm constantly interrupted. I would love to just sit there in a library atmosphere and just, you know, do the work all day. It would increase productivity. And secondly, I think once we are in the position to move to bi-weekly payroll, okay, that will help us also.
Okay. And hopefully the first item will be settled once we get the space study done, and
one never knows.
Brian mentioned within Munis there are other programs that we can purchase, and one of them would be making available through the website all of those documents that town employees want access to, like their W-9s. And
yes.
So right now, people coming into the office to bother your staff for different things, that they would be able to actually log in somehow through that software program and help themselves to those documents.
Yes.
They know how to use it.
Well, we'll have to have them use it, and there'll be a learning curve. A lot of people will love to go on the web and pick up a W-4, their W-2 from 3 years ago, or whatever, and that would help us also. You know, there's a big cost. You know, I don't know, I think it was like $8,000 for the module. And then, however, there's a training, you know, the benefits administrator would have to be trained, and someone in our office, so that's another, you know, that's $1,500 a day training from Munis. So that's another maybe
$5,000 to get them
Looking
trained.
forward, though, as we grow and move, that's a solution to,
Yeah.
to the increase in workload eventually for
Yes.
future planning, not today, not next year, but.
It is, yes, I
Any-
agree with you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was saying, even temporarily, if the benefits coordinator, for lack of a better person, had, I mean, it's all standard forms, your W-4, your I-9, whatever you need, just have it in a package, so if I come in and I'm applying for a job, and I get hired or whatever, they give that to me. I realize W-2s, you know, it's not like I could come in and say, I'm trying to refinance my house, I need a copy of my W-2, I don't have it. That's something that's in a rush, but if they need one from 2 years ago for something, they can always place a request. We can always get a system where they place a request, so you don't have to drop everything to do it, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking in the non-computer, you know, non-automated mode, just to make things easier. If you've got these packages ahead of time, then the benefits administrator or whoever gives it to them when they discuss benefits and say you have to file all these before you can draw a paycheck. So
Absolutely. That automation, I think I agree with you, is a great move. It's expensive, but
Something we should plan for, though.
So, go ahead,
Okay.
because I interrupted you twice.
It's not much of a point. So you're kind of in the same position as other departments are in, where you need to move on, you need to expand a service, you need to do something extra that you don't have the time to do now. So because you're understaffed, because your staff has had so many layers added on, is that what your experience in your department?
yeah.
In other words, not having the help is keeping you where you don't really need to be.
Yeah, we're doing more now than ever. Our transparency now, I think, is better than ever. So yeah, I'm kind of proud of where we are, but and it's been stressful as far as the workload and staying on top of it and doing a conscientious, work effort. So, sometimes I'm in there, you guys see me, I'm a little kind of fired up. And I hate to.
You gotta shut your door.
I gotta shut my door. And when I do, they bang on it, and I've been through the whole thing.
I did it today to you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
But my point is, you're not a revenue generator. So when you, so to speak.
Only in
Well, I am we have saved a significant amount of money for the town through refinance of bonds.
Okay. But I'm saying, you're not a revenue generator.
I am
Where
not
you're
a
going to say,
revenue
well, I've got more fees coming or whatever to counter off an increase in salaries.
No.
But the quality of the service, the amount of service, and what's expected now of the accounting department is basically going to get better. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Question. As I'm going through this, so in effect, the gentleman we were talking about before who was part-time in your office, you're losing.
I expect that if Ryan has a demand for bookkeeping and recreation, has more demand for bookkeeping, and Tom Florence does, then I would be willing to offer Doc as a good person to move into those departments because he knows what he's doing now and he's been trained. Although I lose him, that's another story.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is where does he fit in your budget for last year? Is he in your budget or is he being?
No. No, it was only,
where's he being paid out of?
Ryan's budget. We're borrowing him.
Okay, because I was looking at the
For 8
amount.
hours, he's with us 8 hours a week, maybe 10
Ryan's
max.
paying for him to work for you.
Yeah, this was set up a couple of years ago, and it kind of evolved. So it's coming out of Ryan's budget, and he's working in rec part-time.
Was he the 7/10 of an employee that Ryan had in his
I
previous budget?
believe so. in the
Okay,
part-time.
okay, now I get it, and that's going up to a
And-
full-time
and
employee, that's gonna be shared.
This was like 2 years ago, it kind of evolved, and we just kept it that way.
Yeah, you had a need and he moved in here.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
Okay.
So if you give Doc up, if you're not borrowing him anymore, he'll have, they're looking at increasing his hours.
Right. He's
But is he
going,
giving up hours here?
he's getting he was 7/10 of an employee. I hate that expression, but
Yep.
now he's gonna be a full-time employee, and he's getting an additional, or this person will be getting an additional $10,000 through Ryan's budget. But Tom having to replace him, never had him on his budget before. That's what I was trying to get through my thick little head. Now he's got this part-time person in there to basically replace someone that he wasn't paying before.
Right.
You got it.
I
Thank
guess
you very
my
much.
question-
Thank you very much. I didn't even write a narrative.
I guess my question is, though, the hours that Doc spends with you currently
Are being paid for by someone else.
are being freed up.
Well, not really,
So to
because
give
now-
him
now-
more hour, we're freeing up his hours,
Taking
giving
him out of
them to
here and
someone
spreading
else.
him out
Now he's
somewhere
gonna be
else.
working with the fire department, the rec department, and
So
IT.
freeing him up here, but giving him more to.
Right,
okay.
right.
And leaving him with a desk
It's
deficit.
actually, I'm glad he had the opportunity to work in our department and learn Munis and learn all of the laws and everything he has to in processing, because he's gonna be that much more of a benefit town-wide, as a bookkeeper.
Okay, I've got a couple more quick questions. This is always my bugaboo, I know we discussed it a couple years ago, our auditor. Do we sign a contract with him for our services?
Yes, we signed, I believe, a 3-year contract with Scanlon.
Did it, because I noticed last year, or I'm sorry, the current year we're in, there's a $2,500 additional charge.
No, well, basically, I was never provided a sufficient budget to pay him. So his cost to us was $29,500, and I only had $27,000 to pay him.
Okay.
So I had to cheat other areas in my budget in order to come out whole. So I took a hit there, just to, so we didn't buy supplies and we didn't do other things to get that paid.
Okay, why was, just out of curiosity, why was 2013 fiscal year end higher than 12, or it looks like 14 is gonna be? Because you got 27,000 down for both those years. And that leads into my next question when you're,
Say it again, I'm sorry, Paul.
in other words, this current year we're in, their bill looks like it was 29,500.
Right.
And you had budgeted, of course, you just told me why the budget was 27,000, but you had under budgeted for him, it looks like, or it sounds like from what you just said. But for 2014, you've only got 27,000 down on the budget.
Because that's an error. There should have been, and I have to revise my budget. I have to put
No, I have 29.
an addition in there. Yeah, I might have fixed it and sent you the
Yeah,
correction.
I have 29 on mine.
I don't.
I don't.
I don't?
No.
Okay,
Yeah, I have
is that-
29 on mine too.
Okay, so.
Oh, those are, well, let's see, maybe. See, I've got,
That's why I didn't want to,
oh, okay, so you've got it over on this page, but on this, the operating
Oh,
budget.
right, it
it's only
says 27, you're right.
Okay.
so we have a few of these things going on with some of the departments, and I didn't want to, we're going to make those corrections and filter them out later.
Okay. Last question regarding them, and I know they do a great job, and we've had them for years and everything. Is that an item that can be sent out for bid?
You can send it out to bid.
I mean, do we know, like I said, how many years have been doing this?
Well, they've been with the town of East Longmeadow for quite a while.
They should
I don't.
definitely go out to bid.
I mean, is it something, I mean, do we know, are we getting, compared to what they charge other
Yeah,
towns?
I do. I've
It's like
worked.
shopping your insurance every 3 years.
Scanlon has a great reputation, and they do 70 towns and cities in the area. They really know the ins and outs of municipal finance, and I think it's a great benefit to have them. You could put it out to bid, and I think we'll end up paying a lot more than we do now. Somebody might come in just to get the job, but
underbid
Well, we have procurement laws to follow. I think that we owe it to ourselves to, at the very least, I mean, technology changes, information changes, and I don't know them, and I'm certainly not saying that.
Yep,
If
no.
you speak highly of them, I'm sure they're a phenomenal firm, so I
Yeah.
don't mean any disrespect.
Oh, no, yeah, they do a great job.
Oh, no, none taken. I mean, I think.
But I think we owe it to ourselves to at least go out to bid and assure ourselves that we're getting a great product and a great price.
Well, you'll find out, once again, at the MMA
At the-
conference, when you go to the trade show, there'll be numerous auditing firms there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
The
There's
thing
been
to-
people I talked to
The
for a
thing to
while.
watch out for is when you're picking an awning firm is municipal finance is such a different creature. A lot of the firms, you got to make sure who you take has great
Right.
references.
Yeah. Yeah, usually the ones there that have booths are municipal auditors, so.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, you covered them.
Okay.
Good job.
No, we've got I know we've got your budget. You've got insurance and Hampden County retirement.
I
Yes.
didn't see any of those.
Nope.
Okay.
I provide those next
Okay.
round coming up soon.
Okay.
I could tell you the numbers and tell you what's going on there and what you can expect if you'd like.
How are we doing with our changing over to Medicare?
Well, that's done.
Yeah, well, I know that, but I mean, are we seeing, I know last year we paid all those change fees, but is this gonna be like the first year we see we had thrown around the number like $400,000 back then, and then I know we were paying, what, 250 in change fees or something to that effect. Now that we've paid those, is it, we're gonna realize more of a savings, if you will, or at least see it in some form or another?
Yeah, theoretically, and if we look at to project it, all of those fees that or the claims that we were paying for retired workers, if you will, that were on an active plan with us. Some of those have been shifted to Medicare and now gone, so Medicare is paying those fees. So if you look at it, in a business sense, those fees are no longer, those claims are no longer hitting the Scannick Valley Regional Health Trust. So, and what we're seeing is that our health insurance increase from this year to next year, we will be looking at those rates next month to approve. And like most private insurance companies, they're not 12 and 15% increases. I think we're going to be looking at 6.5% to 7.5% increase. So we have benefited very much from being a self-insured health insurance plan with the 5 towns. And I think, we will see more results as time goes on. Right now, it's kind of tough to gauge because I haven't had enough months to really look at it.
It hasn't even been a year. So
it hasn't even been a year.
So there's a process of things coming in and shifting over to it at this point in time. It's not like a fully loaded system where the experience hasn't been a full year and you haven't.
The experience hasn't been a full year. But I mean, theoretically, when you think about it, a lot of those folks that are retired have higher health insurance claims.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you think? And they were hit.
Well, they live with the doctor. I mean, as you get older, you start to.
A lot of people are very healthy, but some of those, you take 1 or 2 that have a knee replacement.
Just a question, I don't know if it pertains to self-insured and municipalities, but certainly in the business sector, there are incentives through the insurance companies to implement wellness programs. And
Yes.
even the governor is offering smaller businesses now a tax break for implementing, giving you back some of the money you put into wellness. Is there anything we can look into to save money?
Good question.
As a self-insured?
Excellent question. We implemented a wellness manager, if you will, coordinator, 4.5 years ago. Amy.
She just left.
Yeah, she did a wonderful job for us. She did a great job for us in helping our people live healthier lifestyles so that we have a lower claims experience. And that has, unfortunately, she just got hired by one of the carriers. So we'll be looking to replace her.
Okay.
If anybody has.
So we do that already?
Yeah, and we actually received a $5,000 award last year. I think it was in June from Blue Cross Blue Shield by achieving certain goals. Yeah, so
there are monies to reap as far as helping our employees be healthier through wellness programs.
Yeah, it'd probably be a bit like an hour discussion if we really got into it.
No, I'd like to do that,
really,
actually.
really interesting area.
Great.
Having no experience in municipal health at all, I mean, that's completely Greek to me. What did she do? What type of proactive type of things was she introducing?
Extending communication to employees for benefits that wellness benefits that the insurance carriers offer, but maybe we weren't communicating to the employees.
Oh, okay.
For instance, smoking cessation.
Right.
She would roll that out to the employees and go to meetings and push people to get on,
Okay.
smoking cessation program. She dropped maybe 10 people from smoking cessation programs. She got people to walking
Walking
programs,
programs,
yoga
weight
programs,
loss.
weight loss programs.
Eating healthy program, I mean, everything, the whole.
It is a very, very interesting area that, again, we could talk about it for a long, long time. And I think we do, Scannick Valley Regional Health Trust does a tremendous job at that, and it comes up every meeting when we have a Scannick Valley Regional Board Health meeting. If you'd like to attend, I'd come along. I'm a voting member on behalf of you folks.
I have
So
no experience
represent
in it at all. I'd like
you.
to go to a
I've been
meeting
there.
or two.
I was
Absolutely.
at one of the meetings. I
Yeah.
remember, yeah.
When you go, let me know.
For some reason.
I'll tag along with you.
Okay?
Yeah,
I forget when
definitely.
the next meeting is, but,
Just let me know.
I don't have any.
and can I say something?
Sure.
So, I appreciate all of your upfront work. I know you folks, there's like 1,500 line items in the budgets, and it's great to see that you folks really put in the time, because I can see that. And then you ask great questions, and it seems like you in the short period you've been around, and I know you've been in town a lot, it seems like you're really understanding it, so that's a great help.
Well, it's a first-time experience for me. I have
On my part, and I'm sure other department heads feel the same.
We all did the reading, I know that. I sat there and read everything. I've never gone through a budgetary process, and in understanding it, it's been very helpful to have it all laid out. A lot of study work, and I appreciate everybody, all the departments, and what they went through to create it. We sit there and look at the numbers and talk with department heads, you realize how it all came to be. I mean, it's a lot of work. You sit with appropriations and with capital planning. It's a big process. And thank you.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you
Have a
very
great
much.
night.
Say, unless Nick needs you, you can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll stick around for Nick.
You can move chairs.
Okay, Tom.
Nick?
You're not gone yet.
Thank you, yep.
Very much.
I think we're 2 minutes early. If you'd like.
What are we doing? What time was he on for?
8:15.
Okay with it.
You gotta be kidding me. I figured he'd be here at 10
Yeah,
o'clock
it's-
tonight. I
yeah.
really did.
I'm fine with Nick staying where he is. Or
No, that's fine.
So, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I submit, some straightforward budgets as far as Board of Selectmen office. I also work on the Board of Health budget, and I have, in the past, worked on the animal control budget, and this year it's sort of a hybrid. I worked on it a little bit, but Mr. O'Connor, who was appointed by the board last year, has been very active and has met with the board on several occasions during the course of the past year on that budget. So when we discuss it, I'll be presenting really what Mr. O'Connor is proposing. So I'll try to do the best I can on that account.
I'm aware of it, and I hope Paul's aware of it.
Yeah, I spoke to him today.
So, at the board's pleasure, we'll just
Go
discuss
ahead and
whichever
start.
one.
Start with the Board of Selectmen?
Sure.
So.
No, you weren't at that page.
No, I had my hand in.
Added 21.
So the projections on the Board of Selectmen for FY13, at this point, projecting maybe in some particular line items, but overall looking to just meet the expectation. It doesn't seem like there's any big deviations from what was budgeted necessarily. I don't know if the board had any questions about those for FY13.
Not really. I noticed.
No.
I noticed dues went up, but that's.
The dues, went up a bit. The town is a member of the Massachusetts Municipal Association.
God knows they've helped us out on occasions.
They have. They've been a great umbrella organization. We've been a member for a long time now. So, FY14.
Yep.
The first thing you notice is personal services, and there are increases in there, in keeping in line with some changes that the board has previously, and I believe, at least to this point, wanted me to pursue as far as what, there could be some changes within the structure of the office that would, again, better be served discussion, since it would fall under collective bargaining, and non-union negotiations for that matter, that I'd be, I am available to have that discussion. I don't know if the board would want to do that this evening or perhaps at the next board meeting to further hash it out, but.
That's going to be an executive session?
Yeah, we can
So
do it at the next meeting.
let's put that along with other executive session requests for the next meeting. That's my idea.
Yep.
That sounds good
So
with you
just
guys.
as a general comment, the numbers that you're looking at are presented to give you an idea of what I think would occur if it's implemented this way, and what I think it would take for that.
Yep.
Okay.
I noticed line 5112 never changes.
Line 5112, elected officials.
It's a lot.
Elected officials.
You're missing a zero somewhere, and that's all I know.
I just happened to notice that over the last few years. It was just.
I will defer that one to the accountant. I thought that,
Thank you very much.
Tom?
Very funny.
So.
Okay, no, everything, I know, I was gonna ask a question, but I know it's everything subject to negotiation, so we
Yeah,
can discuss
but
that on Tuesday.
it's smart to get it here
Yep.
and deal with it here and discuss it when we discuss. I mean, rather than say, oh, by the way, or in the fall we need something, or being proactive and upfront and having it on the table is a way to do it.
Right.
Dues and advertising is the only other thing that went up, and
And I'd be glad to talk, of course, to talk about that. There was one point I wanted to make with the board as far as negotiations, and this applies, this will be more formally discussed at the next meeting, but the Board of Selectmen, along with its department heads and non-union personnel, does have responsibility to negotiate with 3 collective bargaining units. The IBPO, which is the police, the IAFF, which is the fire, and the TEU, Town Employees Union. The TEU contract, as the board is aware, is in mediation, and there's a session that's going to be coming up, although it's not until February. The IBPO has indicated their contract expires June 30th. So those are all the police officers up at the station there, and the rule, and also the same thing holds for the fire contract, and they just indicated that they want to renegotiate. So the budgets for those departments, along with the TEU, which falls across multiple departments, those are clerical, by and large clerical and custodial. So the budgets that you have here are going to be dependent on what can be negotiated.
Right.
And it's hoped that, the parties will come to that prior to the town meeting, so that it will be part of the annual town meeting.
right. And then a lot of the proposed, and I don't know if this is for executive session, but any proposed regrading, I understand we can't have those conversations until we have a contract.
In the town employees union contract, there is a clause that states that if there is a regrade request, and even within that contract, and I would ask the board, I can get the clause, but the Board of Selectmen negotiated into that contract a specific protocol for requesting of regrades. But there is a clause in there that states that if a regrade request comes up within a year of the expiration of the contract, that it will become part of successor negotiations. Well, a recent one came from another department making that request, but it was made officially to the Board of Selectmen, I believe, in October of 12. The contract had already expired June 30th of 12. So it would have, the board would have had to see that before June 30th of 11.
Right. So the same thing would pertain to anyone within any other departments. So within your budget, for example, if you wanted to have some regrades, the situation applies to you as well.
That's correct. That's correct.
To everybody but one.
A
right.
non-union,
There's a
right?
non-union.
Yes, correct.
Given, however, the concept that, would be discussed, with the ideas perhaps of making some changes within the structure of the office and to dovetail with the building department. It is my intent and my recommendation that I continue on as if I were pursuing a regrade request for this department. I don't know for certain that one is warranted. However, I suspect that one will be at the end of a process which will involve reviews of duties and so forth. But that isn't to say, of course,
Correct.
the board has to negotiate.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine, because obviously you give it, you present the budget in the, for lack of a better term, highest possible dollar value it could be, and, going from there, based on negotiations and whatnot, then, we'll see where.
It's including the future, I mean, which
That's what,
makes sense.
That was the intelligent way of saying what I just said. Including the future in it.
It's late.
So as more information becomes available, I'll provide it.
That's
And
great.
and you're working on, we discussed, you're working on the regrade, that's something you're going to start taking to task, correct?
I've started.
Started.
I have started a little bit on that, yes.
As I've sat here tonight, I've gotten a lot more information and have had not a different picture painted for me, but I understand more what we were discussing earlier. I have a better understanding of what needs to go and how it needs to go. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I'm just curious about the increase in advertising.
Sure, so there's an advertising increase there. The board, and we're on track, I think even right now we're projecting that it'll meet the number. I think it will probably exceed it because for the current fiscal year, there have been, the board should be aware that when there is a board-sponsored, if you will, function, meaning if there's a bid, like the municipal space bid, or if there's a bid for, even with the pool,
Advertising.
some of these costs are coming right out of the board, along with if there's an opening in another Board of Selectmen department.
Yes.
And the board's leading that process, the advertising,
Got it.
and it's, come out
Same with
of.
vacancies and commissions and
Okay.
other boards and non-salaried,
Right,
Okay.
and so advertising will also encompass things like, if there are regulation changes that the board is having a public hearing on, for example, the body art.
So we're having a busy year.
We are having a busy year with
Yeah.
that, and the increase was based on an expectation that it would either keep going, or if not all of that amount of the 3,000 there, then it could also perhaps be in with printing
Okay.
services.
Okay.
Very good. That's it.
And then the dues are basically because we got more members going to,
It-
more
that-
of us
that's-
going to functions, and, I mean, yeah.
MMA.
The MMA is something that, the board has not all gone to, and it's been more, the idea that the board members are all interested in going, I think, is in line with a lot of communities. And, but we've never explicitly put that in as a line item. We've covered it through training or other functions, so I decided to put that in there.
Okay, and as I've said before, I found it, I've gone all 3 years, 3 full years I've been a selectman, and I find it, you get a wealth of knowledge, the people you meet, the people from other towns that you can bounce things off of. It's like going to a tax seminar where you get more from the people you're there with than the actual, the actual seminar itself, but.
Well, it's a good experience pool to feed
Right,
off of.
right.
I mean, that's,
And it also
obviously we need it. I do.
reflects, pardon me.
No.
It also reflects an anticipation if there's an increase in the dues for the MMA itself.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions on the selectmen's budget?
No.
Yeah, that 5112.
Other?
No? The huge, there's a zero missing, I'm sorry, Nick, no, it's a mistake.
Oh, okay.
All right, where do we want to go from here? Want to go to animal control, or?
Or help.
That's a good sized one, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
do you want to start, or do you want me to just explain that we're making valiant efforts to get our animal control into the 21st century, and we've got,
Thank you.
Not that we've had, well, we basically had part-time people before, but now we've got someone who's sort of
taken the dog by the leash, so to speak, and is trying to make sure that all the animals are licensed in town, and I know they have done a tremendous job. They've increased licensing. I forgot exactly how much because
I got that whole folder at home. I didn't bring it with me. It was $16,000, was it? 16 or 18,000?
Yep.
Revenue
Yeah.
results from current
And
AC.
And that's out of the 5,300 dogs. Is it 5,300? No, 3,500 dogs.
Yeah.
And it's like 5,000 cats or something. But out of they're still not all
4,000
licensed.
dogs and 4,300 cats.
Yeah. So
roughly.
there's even more revenue to be generated if you can get it down up to 90%. It's quite a chunk of change.
Right.
I think it's another 20,000 on top of what he did. I got that folder at home. I wish I brought it.
3,350 total dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable. He's got what, 255 calls, was it?
Mm-hmm. So
busy.
Yeah. So obviously, if you look at prior year's budgets compared to this year, it's or this year coming up, it's obviously a little different.
Big time.
So I don't know if you want to. No, they're stolen your thunder.
No, just getting into some of the proposals here. Just to back up for a moment, there are two individuals. There is Mr. O'Connor. He is the animal control officer and animal inspector. So there's two main duties there. There's also, and he is on call for 5 days a week. We have
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, 5 days a week. Right. And we have Melissa DeFino, who is the alternate animal control officer for relief, and who works a set schedule of 2 days a week. So the town is covered 7 days a week at $50 a day on call. And so there's a proposal to increase the stipend amount for the board to consider. And then there are proposals for things like clothing, seminars, and training. There were also laws that were enacted October 1st of 12 that made it a requirement now that animal control officers receive a certification through training, put on, I believe, by it's a state animal control association. The Board of Selectmen had, previous to that enactment, given the okay for Mr. O'Connor to attend that training, so we were in anticipation of that. But certainly, if for whatever reason, if he steps down, there's a chance that we would have to do that again, although that probably would be an unforeseen. I don't know if he's necessarily proposing that the alternate be trained similarly. I suspect that that's what this is for.
I think she has to be, doesn't she? If she comes into duty?
I'm not clear on an alternate. I am clear on the animal control officer.
Right.
But it seems to me that should be the case.
In discussion with him, that would be something that he would want to have done anyway. So that there's that proper service. She's only on the weekends, but just the same as she doesn't have the same certification right now as he does, I know that, in an effort to bring her up.
I just don't know, I mean, providing for a town vehicle, providing for retrofitting of LCAT vehicle. Have we costed out, what mileage would be as compared to, we have mileage in there as well.
Mileage for.
So there's a redundancy in there. There's talk about, excuse me.
No, go ahead, that's what I'm seeing.
One of the proposals that Mr. O'Connor's brought before the board as to, currently both people use their own vehicles to transport animals. When they pick up a stray on the street, they're going in their vehicle, which
or a dead animal, deceased animal.
No,
well, they call DPW.
DPW.
Well, Tom puts it in the back of his truck, back of his car.
Okay,
I know that.
so-
And he has.
They use their own vehicle now,
do.
and that's where that mileage fee probably comes in.
That's correct.
But then there's also a line item in there for the potential to retrofit the
Right.
old LCAT vehicle.
Right.
So the
And town vehicle.
what that is there is anticipated a vehicle to come off of the police department roster because of it's aging out, but still would have presumably a lot of good miles left in it. The board's previous idea was for that vehicle, the police vehicle, to go to LCAT, and for the LCAT vehicle to go to animal control.
You gotta take the stuff out of the vehicle that you took it out and stick it in the other vehicle.
Well, this is what
Retrofitting.
Yeah.
right. So I think I know that this is his attempt to give the board an idea of what the cost would be
Right.
for that.
But if we did that, would we do away with the mileage, I guess? If we're paying them personal mileage because they're using their personal vehicles, and we did retrofit the old LCAT vehicle, then that line item for mileage would go away, wouldn't it?
I think it would. I think it wouldn't go away entirely,
No, 'cause
only
you're still
because
gonna
I
have
think
mileage.
I think the gas number
It's
is
low.
too low.
Yeah, that's very low.
The gas number in there is, and it was really a reminder, because we're looking at this, and we need, I think, to take some of that 3,000 and allocate it to gasoline.
Okay.
So where that number fits in, I can't answer
Okay.
that exactly.
Nope, that's
They might
fine,
be able
it
to
just,
give an idea of how many miles they travel. Because that figure must have come from somewhere.
well, if
so-
we're paying them mileage now, don't we make them keep track of how many miles they travel, so that, because we pay them X percent per mile?
We do, and I just don't have the
No, that's fine.
figures
That's
for
fine.
that today, but it can vary.
And I can see
Yeah,
the need
right.
because the last thing I would want to do is use my car to
Oof.
pick up a unfriendly dog or
Right.
wet,
No.
whatever dog or
Wet
something.
snake.
Yeah.
If you look in Tom's vehicle, he does have equipment in it too. It's not like it's just, there's all sorts of equipment that you need. I don't know if it's mandated, but there's a bite thing, a first aid, there's a
That's
vest so you
very
don't get
safety.
run over, because it can be at a rainy night on the side of the road
Yeah.
type of thing. I looked at all this. What he wants to do though is leave the LCAT vehicle and come right from the cruiser to him. The cruiser come right from the police department to him because it's already outfitted. It didn't make sense to him to take the vehicle from LCAT that used to have the equipment in it, take the equipment out of the one that's coming offline, give it to LCAT, then take the old LCAT, give it to him, and take that equipment and reinstall it. That's what he was talking about with me. But there is definitely, I mean, if you go to a lot of towns, they have an animal control vehicle. If you look at the calls, look at the professional job the man is doing with the position, taking it out of the dark ages, the budget request is way different than last year, but it does fit into a properly operated animal control job, or whatever you may call it. It does fit into it, so I'm just trying to bring this out.
I don't know enough about it, but if it's
Well, I had a-
double, the stipend is doubled.
Yes.
If I told you.
And I
if
don't know, so
Okay,
I'm,
my
Almost
devil's
double, it's
advocate
90.
is, if I told you you're the animal control officer from Monday morning at
I'm trying to bring this
7 in
along,
the morning
understand it. It's-
to Friday night at midnight, you're on call and we're gonna give you $50 a day.
I wouldn't take the job.
There you go. So getting that into even $90 a day as a stipend is, I don't think is
Okay.
overly tremendous. But I mean, I'm an advocate of that just because of the nature of the job.
There's other things here. There's the bark park. Takes a lot of his time. It's not supposed to,
Which
but
is-
it does.
Exactly, I found that out
And
today.
it does, and I've had to deal with it's a Board of Health issue, the bark park, which I'm the, chair of the Board of Health, so I've had an opportunity to discuss it with the DPW and one of the principals from the bark park, and I've had a meeting with Tom, couple-hour meeting with Tom, and there's an issue there.
There's a few issues.
There's just few issues, and it's a safety issue, it's a health department issue, and it's something that's never really been dealt with. And this man has gone in there and identified all this. He's gone and done research at the clinics for dogs to find out who has been coming in, comparing it to the licensed dog list and finding out that the licensing in East Longmeadow is very low, the percentage is very low, and then gone out to get people to license their dogs.
Right,
I mean,
so-
there's rabies vaccinations, there's all sorts of stuff.
So just like with the other department heads, however, he's showing the potential new revenue. Which
Right,
would-
oh, exactly.
Which
There's-
would in
and
turn
there was
pay
offsetting
for, so it's just,
Yep.
it's important to
There is.
verbalize that.
Right.
That
Mhm.
if you're looking at a $20,000 increase, that you're looking at $20,000 that wasn't there last year.
Right.
And if I was watching, saying, what the heck, what the heck?
Right.
But on the other end, the work he's doing in that position is resulting in 20-some-odd thousand dollars in revenues that we didn't have before. I just think it needs to be verbalized.
That's what I'm trying to do right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, I'm
I've met
sorry.
with him, but I've met with him, and I understand what
Yeah.
he's doing. At first blush, I went, gosh, he's kind of going crazy here. But when you look at the issues, they are real issues. And if you look at, I just happened to see an animal control vehicle in another town about a week and a half ago, when he said everybody, most communities have it, and he researched it, and he can give you factual information. They do have it. They take the job seriously. 3,300 dogs and 4,000 cats. That's half the population of the town put together. It's 15,881 in the town.
Not counting other animals.
Other
like
animals and
chickens
the things you
goats.
don't know about. And
There's
he's
some
gone out
unregistered
knocking
goats in
on
town.
doors. So he has his request is totally offset by income that we haven't gotten before.
He's
Yes.
already been.
And
And-
Tom's a very diligent.
Oh, yes,
serious
He
Yeah.
is
guy,
a
and he's
thorough
great-
person.
He's doing a great job.
He's
Yeah.
doing a great
Yeah.
job. And I know he was given $1,000 by by one of the other people that was on the board, and not him, but I mean, that was allocated to him. And instead of showing up in a pair of jeans
He went out
and a
bought
t-shirt and
shirt.
saying, hey, you gotta license your dog, somebody goes, who the heck are you? I mean, he has a badge and he has that knit
Yep, they both
shirt
do,
and
yeah.
he has the proper dress, the proper attire, so
Yep.
when he goes to the door, he's an authority.
I would like.
And
a-
he's dealt with better.
a Counting jersey. No, whatever.
I'm just trying to verbalize this so
stripes.
people know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Well, so I guess that's
There's
very
a-
important. And
It
we
is.
talk about
It is.
transparency, sometimes people just look at the increase, but
Right.
he's justifying
Right.
the increase. He's doing more for the town,
He's a
making
revenue
the town
License more
generator.
dogs
better,
than have been
and making
licensed.
money to pay for the work that
Right,
he's doing.
right.
So that,
Right.
I think it's important that we say that, so that people
It does,
understand.
he is a revenue generator at that point too. And it actually, I talked to him, it's a $7,000 net gain
Yeah.
to our base. It's not a
Right.
lot, but it's $7,000.
With a healthier community. You know, I agree.
And Board of Health issues taken care of, safety issues taken care of,
Mm-hmm.
licensing. I mean, making sure that, and before these people can license, they have to go to wherever and they have to get the shots done. So I mean, it's a plus, it's a positive. I'm an advocate of it.
Great.
Any other comments? Okay. Are we all set with that?
The only question I would have is, what I would ask the board to do is to think about which one of these might need to be refined. I don't know, obviously, it's been identified already that
Right.
the mileage needs to be looked at. But, you know, the stipend was brought up, and then the rate, and then also there is a stipend request increase for the
Barn inspector.
barn inspector.
Right.
So I think
That's-
that he'll need to have concrete direction as to what the numbers should be.
I think we should look into, and this is, I'm not speaking for the board, but obviously we should look into the gasoline and the mileage. Possibly the vehicle retrofitting, if we do actually go with the police vehicle as is, as opposed to taking that offline and bringing another one online and retrofitting that, so that may save a few dollars. I'm personally, speaking for myself, I'm totally in favor of the stipend increase for the hourly, or for the hourly, for the daily.
It's a daily stipend
Right.
increase.
And then I noticed, I think he has, I believe, 24 barns that he looks, that they over.
Is it $500 a year or something? Is that
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, I know they want to go to 1,000. Once again, it's not a huge dollar amount. in the
He's
greater scheme of
justifying it
things. Yeah.
in his
Right.
revenue
In his-
projection,
yep.
so
Yep.
I'm comfortable. Like you said,
Okay.
it's gonna be a $7,000 surplus
Right.
when all is said and done with added services and,
And
that's-
possibly even more based on some of these changes, so.
Correct.
So once again, I
Just
think
the
the only
gas
things he
and-
has to deal with is the mileage, the gas, and
Yeah.
possibly if we can do something else with the vehicle where we get one that's already 70 or 80% set, then, that won't, we can do something with that $2,400, but.
I just think it's better to take the one that's leaving service at the police department and give it to him. He's gonna need the better car with better, that's gonna go more miles. He also wanted a radio, and I said, I doubt that's gonna fly. It's $1,000. Use your telephone for the times that you need to get in touch with the police or whatever you may have to.
Put them on speed
I
dial.
know, in discussing it with them, he just said, you know, from Board of Health issue, you're asking me if $1,000 is worth it, or warrants $1,000. I said, no. No. And I don't really think that, I don't think he should have lights on the top of the car. I think maybe something on the back deck of the car inside, I don't know, it just kind of goes overboard, but, you know, he needs to be, you need to be aware he's there, but where the car looks like a cruiser instead of his little SUV with maybe a flash around the, you know, the rear window there, fine, but I don't think he needs lights on top of the vehicle.
Or even if it's identified.
Yeah, and animal
Town
control
sailing.
officer.
Yeah, letter, you can letter the side.
Something
Right,
like
okay.
that, you know, but,
So those may be option, you know, ideas to
Sure.
bring back to them and see
So,
where we go.
okay, so the gas in the vehicle and the radio are the ones really to look at.
Yeah.
Figure
Right.
out how to go about doing that with the.
I just think the radio's out.
But it sounds like the stipends are
Yeah,
in
I
line
would-
with what the board
Yeah.
feels is
Agree
justified.
with you,
I
sir.
don't-
Because I don't know enough about it, but yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be 90, right?
Yeah.
90 a day. I mean, if you look at what he does, if you sit down and talk with him, and he's not kidding around, he takes it really seriously, it's just not that much. I know it's a big increase, but it's a genuine service.
Well, again,
And it's a
he's
huge
justifying
step up
the
in
increase
services.
with revenues, which, so
Right.
he's going to make money for the town and do better, have a better service for us. You
And
can't
that
argue with
generates
that.
its own fund every
Correct.
year with the renewals too, so it's not bad.
Great,
No radio though.
All right. If you want to,
help.
since I'm anal retentive, we can continue alphabetically if you want to go to emergency preparedness.
Oh,
That's a one line item.
it's,
It's, this was,
Actually, I take that back.
Mr. Chairman, I have to say that
We
this
don't
is
have
one
that
that I'm
one.
not familiar with this year. I believe it's,
Okay. It actually looks like, if I may, that there's a stipend, they're looking for an increase in, but in total, the level services budget actually ends up less than,
Yeah, in the past, fire chief,
there it is.
emergency preparedness director, Ryan Quimby, the IT director, now takes that position and being, you know, central to communications and being able to handle the reverse E911 and a lot of other things that Ryan is qualified for. He's taken that over. So there's the stipend, and then you'll see a $7,000 repair line item. That is primarily to repair radios that go bad.
Aren't they new?
We haven't, they are, the new system, there are new radios, however, in the circumstance where police officer is in a fight, or they smash, or they get broken.
And they're $1,000 a piece, I know that.
They need to be replaced. So that's what that primary line item is for, and then there's office supplies in there, and
now is it,
some dues.
if you don't, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but
No problem.
like telephone and office supply reductions, is that because he's basically running that out of his office, so it's a
Yes.
duplication of, okay.
Yes.
Or lack of duplication.
Yes, and there's often a surplus in this account because there haven't been the repairs
Yeah,
that we
okay,
expected
Right,
to
right,
be.
okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Shall we move on to health?
so just by way of explanation, the board, the health department budget covers everything from the stipends for the health agent and for associated costs with running the department, permits, inspections, some in-state travel for mileage to help pay for the health agent's mileage.
Got it somewhere.
Within the department, you also have costs associated with monitoring of gas extraction systems, methane systems. We have some methane extraction systems that were implemented back in, I believe, 2004 and maybe even further back. There's one in particular up at the behind the fire station in that area. So there are costs we incur monthly.
Are those the purchase services?
I was gonna say, what are the other
Yes.
purchase services?
The reason,
It's a lot of money.
the reason why we use the other category is because we don't want to fill the chart of accounts with so many line items, it gets messy, but, yeah, we purchase methane analysis, like Nick was saying, at the old dump behind the fire station. That's about $2,500 a month.
Jesus.
And I think it will continue to be for a while. And
Beats an explosion.
What's that?
It beats an explosion.
I don't have.
Yeah,
the-
it's just, that's a
No,
lot of money.
that's okay, and
Aggressive
I
people.
get that, it just maybe, other purchase services could be more elaborated.
Yeah.
Just, even just what you just explained, it's analysis of various gases.
I think, yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
that's-
I think we're going to do that.
Because it just
And it looks like it doesn't hit the budget item. In other words, you get 55,212 in the
That's right here.
2000, in the FY13 budget. And it looks like your projected expense for the year is 35,000, so you've actually got a $20,000 surplus.
Yes, we
Well,
in the past, oh, go ahead, Nick.
that also includes and doesn't break out the service for the annual mosquito spraying. It comes out of this budget. That will be, well, I'll be presenting to the board just the idea of the request for quotation in the next
Yep.
meeting or so. That, I would estimate this year will be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 15,000 this year.
That's other purchase services as well?
That's
Oh,
in there as well, yeah.
okay.
So between,
Well, still you're
Yeah.
looking at
2,500 a month plus that, those are,
You're up to 45
big.
grand,
Yeah,
Right.
so.
Right.
And I
okay.
noticed the last 4 years, it's been 25, 34, 37, 35, so I
Yep.
just noted, I mean, I'm just thinking here, we've got a cushion in there.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing.
No.
In the past, I think also, maybe 2 years ago, Nick, we had a public health nurse stipend.
We have, that's correct, and we haven't had that position filled during the current, well, almost a year, I think, or not quite a year, but, so that is something that needs to stay in there because we will presumably at some
Fill the
point have that
position.
position filled. And to that end, I can tell you that one of the discussions that I've had with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, they have a person who is dedicated for regional services, and that is one of the areas that they're looking to other towns to see if there's any way that, maybe not a district, but services could be shared regionally. And at the next Regional Boards of Selectmen meeting, which is January 31st, that will be one of the topics of
Great.
discussion.
Perfect.
All right. Since I hogged the stage here, anyone else have any questions
I
on the
have
health
no
budget?
other
I don't know you
questions.
want.
Okay. All right. I believe next is health legal?
Legal?
Yeah. God bless legal. There's a moving target, isn't it?
Legal, I believe it was last year that legal budget was brought up to the level of 98,000, and proposing really the same budget
Yep.
at this point. The legal costs on the town council side are more stable, if you will, because there's a monthly stipend that's paid. Currently, there's no proposal for an increase on that stipend. And there are charges that would be relative to additional litigation matters that the council might
Right.
get involved with. The real variable is on the labor council side. Any number of issues that come up are going to increase those costs.
Right.
And they're difficult to predict.
Okay.
So
Understandably.
right now, in speaking with, and working with Tom on this, we think that the best idea is to just present
Level.
level
Mhm.
for now.
Okay.
Well, based on the last 4 years, including the projections for this year, it's in the ballpark, you know. So that makes sense. And I hate to harp on this, but it's my opinion that if we actually had a human resources person, it might help alleviate a bit of this bill.
Geez, I wouldn't agree with you more.
But that's just my opinion.
I can think of a couple that might have helped out.
So anyway, any other questions regarding,
No, I think
Legal
it's very
services.
self-explanatory.
and next is operations.
Operations, just pretty straightforward, helping telephone repairs, copier rentals. This is sort of a catch-all budget that falls under the Board of Selectmen, but not necessarily something that I work with on a daily basis with, but we do work on this budget. And these are town-wide types, townside types of expenses, town-wide.
Town-wide.
Yeah.
Town-wide type, yes.
Thank you.
I understood.
Had a tough time with that one. Sorry about that, but
That's
yeah.
okay.
You
You've
should have had
only
a
been here-
coffee.
You've only been here 14 hours, so.
So, yeah, it's town expenses.
Okay.
You get the begin and end of your day with me, though.
That's right.
Want me to say it or should you? No, anyways, but I noticed under, you know, based on looking at FY13, some of these items, obviously your estimates, and God knows, like telephone repairs, you didn't have
Yeah.
many estimated for this year, but, you know, everything could go, as they say, to hell in a handbasket, and you could have more repairs than you anticipate,
Well,
so.
we can get a brand-new phone system, and that'll be a
Right.
gravy
and then-
line item.
It's like, it's really
Right.
kind of a contingency budget.
Right.
Okay.
And we've had good surpluses in.
Yes, I noticed that, yeah. Yeah, okay. Any other questions?
No. Good job.
I'm glad you got all the questions.
Is that it?
Veterans and trash.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Save trash for last.
No,
Tra-
let's do trash next,
trash
since I'm on my, my
Alphabetical?
thing.
Okay.
Trash budget, just looking to go level at this
Mhm.
point.
Yep.
We're obviously under contract,
We're
so-
under contract. This takes into account at this point any increase. We have a contractual increase in this. We're going to be in it'll be the third year of our 5-year deal with
so we're-
Allied. There may be a variable in here that, not for the hauler at least, but there could be a variable that I would just mention to the board, is that the contract that the town has with Covanta, which is the operator of the burning facility over on Bondi's Island, which is where our solid waste goes, our recycling goes down to the Springfield MRF on Bernie Ave. But anyway, the contract expires. It was a 20-year contract, and it will end on July 31st. I've had just a preliminary discussion to indicate that the town is interested in looking at this from a regional perspective as well with other towns. It was done, from what I understand, 20 years ago, it was done in such a way that it was a regional sort of approach, I guess, to get the facility going or to guarantee a certain amount of tonnage
Revenue.
to go there because
Sure.
they needed to
Verify the need
right.
of the facility, yeah.
But at the same time, so there are other communities whose contracts are also running out.
Great.
And so it seems to be an opportune time to band together and see, what kind of clout that could help us with.
That's great.
Is that something that might be put forth for the regional board meeting?
I could ask that it
Good
be
idea.
on the agenda.
Because I know obviously we're already in it with Longmeadow, so I would assume we're on the same wavelength, so to speak, as far as this, so.
I'll bring that up as a topic.
Okay.
And it could mean that, right now, the way the contract is structured is that annually they use a CPI formula to talk about how much we're going to pay for our tip fee per ton. And we don't know, but it could be that there's going to be some competition for this, not solely from that facility. There could be even from our own hauler some kind of interest in doing that. So we could end up having lower tip fees. I don't know that, but
We had a 20-year contract. Did I hear you say that?
it was a 20-year agreement.
There's other recyclers too. I mean, as far as your hard recycling goes, does that have to be in the contract, or can you separate that out?
We
The
have a
bottles,
separate,
glass?
we have a separate agreement with the Springfield MRF.
Okay.
So, and that one doesn't expire, I believe, until 2016.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm assuming that either, well, 20 years ago, I don't know for certain if the procurement law was in place, but even if it were, trash services are not subject to the procurement laws. Now, how that was affected with town meeting and the length of contracts, I don't know that history.
Question, just gonna throw this out. Do you know,
Is that a
if
pun?
you
You're gonna throw this out for a trash talk?
what consideration does the town get for a tin can, for an aluminum can, when they recycle that? What's the amount?
So within the contract with the MRF, we have an agreement that pays us a set amount per ton, which is sort of a floor amount, if you will. And I think the amount is somewhere around $15.75 a ton. Okay, and so that's the worst we're going to do. Okay, at $15.75 a ton, does that pay for the cost of the hauling down there? I wouldn't think so.
No.
But what we also have is we are part of a revenue sharing component, so that when the price for recyclables in other markets, so they take it and they process it and then they sell it to people that want to convert plastic into whatever. We, as a member community of the MRF, participate in revenue sharing. So the $16 is the floor on any given, and it's evaluated on a 6-month basis. So we'll get a check twice a year from the MRF saying this is your part of your base and your revenue share. So I think we've had it where the revenue share portion was as high as, I want to say in the low 30s since I've been here. It has gone significantly down, but so it's market-based, but that's how that works.
And I asked that to ask this. What is it? I've had people complain about the trash pickers. The guys that go along and take dump truck full of, not dump truck, but pickup truck. They fill their pickup truck beds with aluminum cans out of our recycling. And some people are really upset about it. It didn't go over particularly too well with me either when the guy's picking through my trash. Not only that, because if there's anything personal in there, God forbid you left something in there, they can see that. And it's kind of unenforceable from what I understand, but it seems like it should be enforced.
Well,
just bring me up to speed, because I've had not just one or two, but several people say, can you ask, can you do anything about it? And I tried to before, it's on public property, so.
It doesn't, I don't know if I can address the enforcement of it, I would call the police, obviously, but.
Yeah, but they won't do anything about it.
Maybe we need an ordinance, but it does take revenues from us because we generate, the more we recycle, and we're top 3 in the state, which is great.
Are we?
Yeah, we have been.
And it's a lot being taken, believe me.
And we generate from recyclables in the solid waste revolving fund, which is a whole other fund, about a couple $100,000 a year, for which you'll see in the budget every year, and we'll talk about it more. 150 has been used to transfer from that fund to offset the $995,000 trash account.
Which is what it's for.
Yes, and we are not going to be taking 150 next year. I think we'll be doing like 90 because recycling's going down.
Yeah, but it's still $90,000.
It's still good money, so we lose money when that happens.
Right, and maybe it's some guy trying to supplement his retirement, and I don't want to be, I don't want to sound like I'm hard-nosed, but it's a pickup truck full today, tomorrow, every day. These guys go around, they know the recycling schedule, and they take it. And there's people upset about it. And I don't think it's correct to have it done either. Now, the police, it's somebody on basically shared town property. They can't really, there's no ordinance that says it's illegal to do it, and they're not on somebody's private property, so their hands are tied.
My understanding is that they're not creating a nuisance by, knocking it over and spilling trash all over somebody's private property. If they're just taking it, that they're unless there's a specific bylaw in place, there's nothing to my knowledge that can be done about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's upsetting people. There's people that chase them out of the trash because they know it's a contract we have that generates revenue to offset the 900 or basically it's called $1 million worth of trash fees. And I don't want to sound like I'm not for helping somebody out, but there's people that are upset about it. Like, can we do something about it? Can we change it?
Doesn't
Well,
sound
let's
like
see if
it.
we can.
I don't think I don't know for sure, but I've heard that legally, once it goes out, it's
Right.
It's public domain.
Public, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So I don't
It's
think
tough,
we as
but
a
I'm
town
just
can
bringing it
change
up
that law.
because it's been asked of me to ask something about it, so I'm going to bring it out into the open, and there's people that are upset, so.
Perhaps citizens that are so affected by it could submit a petition warrant article.
Right.
It's a good suggestion, and I'll suggest that. Okay, I had to throw it out there.
I'm ready. Any other items with trash? Trash items. All right, let's move on to, I believe, veterans. This is last, but not least.
I'm relying really on the accountant for the figures here, but we're looking at a significant increase, not necessarily because of the agreement that the town is in with the Eastern Hampden County Veteran Service District, that our costs are more or less fixed with that agreement where we're hiring the individual. Now, I don't have a figure from them as far as what a proposed increase might be for that person's salary and our portion of it. So that's one thing that we don't know at this point. What this is talking about here is there is an increase in the number of veterans and/or the amount of services that are being provided to veterans in East Longmeadow. That's what this is indicating. So we do, as a town, eventually receive from the state a reimbursement level of 75% of that money that we expend. But an increase is an increase.
Right.
But the reason for it is because that more veterans are receiving more services.
I was just saying, unless I'm mistaken, the increase means that the veterans officer, the outreach program, is that much better that he's affecting more veterans and providing more services. So, although it's a big dollar amount, it's actually a good thing, because obviously you want to provide the best services you can to your veterans, and
I agree.
I guess that's it.
My question to the board is, and I don't know if this would be an ongoing one, I think there was a question previous, and there is a annual window where the town could decide to opt out of the agreement with the district. And I believe that comes up no later than May. And probably, since you're in the budget cycle, if you know, the sooner you know, the better it will be for all parties involved, especially if you have that time to plan. If the town wants to get out of it, then you'll also have that time for succession planning, and what are you going to do? How are you going to provide those services?
Hire our own veterans services person versus being part of a group that's charging us per service unit.
Well, there
is an option.
Yeah, no, they're not charging us per service unit. They're charging us based on the size of the town, is how much of the salary you tend to you're responsible for. I believe.
It's
Not the size
actually
of the
no.
town?
It's
Well,
an
the
equalized.
population.
It's an
Population.
equalized.
Yeah, but
No,
it's
it's based on an equalized valuation figure of the town, not strictly speaking of the population. So you look at what the equalized valuations of all the member communities, and you figure out what your percentage of whatever so our percentage is X because of our equalized value relative to the other communities. It's not straight population.
Then how do they know? I mean, so I am very literal, so it cost us this much to serve X number of veterans, and it's increasing because we're serving more veterans. How do we measure that?
Where do you come
Well,
up with the figure?
what I'm saying is I don't think
Right.
that there's a linear, I don't think that there's necessarily a linear factor. Each veteran is going to represent $8,000. I mean, on an average, you get that. So, but one veteran might be receiving $6,000 worth of services, another one might be receiving $12,000 worth of services. It's just not that straight
Okay.
line. The only straight line for us to look at is the cost for us to fund our portion of that veteran
Right.
service officer.
Okay.
And it's based on the population, the percent of veterans in that population?
No, the town's assessment is based on what percentage our equalized value relative to the other member communities is.
Oh, wow.
I could show you the formula. It's really not as complicated
As it sounds.
It really isn't.
Okay.
But so we are, I think we're actually about 49%.
I was thinking we're about half.
We're about 49% or so, 50%.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close.
But the other side of that, and for the benefit of the new members, is that if the board decides that we think we would be better served, our veterans would be better served, and we want to get out of this arrangement, time is of the essence, and know that any agreement wouldn't necessarily be a cost saver, because even if the town wanted to go alone, the cost would go up probably, well,
50%, probably pretty close.
yeah, they'd go up quite a bit, because we're paying, I want to say, $35,000 or so for our assessment. There are laws that say that now you have to have a full-time agent on your own,
Right.
and now you'd have to fund that.
Yep.
Or if you go with another community, so there's different variables to think about.
And just to give you an idea, you were talking about how they came up with the figures. If you look at this year's budget, or fiscal year 13's budget, you'll notice from July, August, September, October, November, there are actual dollar figures, and I believe that's what,
Okay.
that's what the,
6, 6, 8,
Oh,
10,
yeah,
5, okay.
yeah, the 5150, and it was only budgeted at 3719
Got
a
it.
month, so.
Got it. That's why the accountant on the board is a very
I'm glad he's
helpful.
here.
point.
It's easy to look at it.
Yes.
Got good questions. All right.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't just put this thing
And
in a
we
binder.
clearly had.
Well, I didn't put it in a
I-
binder, but I'm asking the questions because I saw them, I just,
And we've clearly had some positive feedback as to the quality of the services. in,
Yes.
Noted letter, so.
Mhm.
very good.
Is that it?
Congratulations.
Wonderful. Anyone know any other questions about the veterans budget?
No, sir.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments?
Anybody have a motion?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.